Whew. I don't know how many ounces this is, but I know how many milliliters. I will say bigger cans in the hotel fridge in Mexico than the States.
Good to know.
Not as much food, more beverage.
That's a large can.
It's skinny. I'm guessing it's 12 ounces.
Well, how many milliliters? 500?
355.
Huh.
I had to put down 6,000 pesos as incidental fee for the hotel. And I looked at the guy and I said, okay, how much is that? He said $300. I said, okay. And I should have known that because driving in from Toluca to Mexico City, we had 2 tolls, and the tolls were like 97 or 100 pesos, and that was $5. So 100 pesos is $5.
Gotcha.
Wish we had the old Tommy Morrison clip, Mark.
The altitude?
Mexico City, the altitude.
Yeah, you're like 7,000 feet there, right?
Apparently this is like higher than Denver.
Oh, it's not close either. Morning, Juancho.
By the way, Marcus Jones for POD.
Oh, yeah, outstanding. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, the Kelsey one was good, and the other one I would have nominated was the TCU kick from Saturday.
Yes.
He had a decent. I heard the call. It's a decent call. It's not a great call.
That was kind of a stupid play. Like, what?
No.
You think they did that on purpose?
Yeah, they definitely did it on purpose. You could tell
they've run it before. Yeah.
Tell. Think about it. 3rd down, no timeouts, 21 seconds to go. They run the ball, and then the team was running onto the field immediately. Lined up, snapped it. Yeah.
Snapped it with 4 seconds, 5 seconds. I mean, they were efficient as hell on that play.
Yep.
They really were.
Yep. Because we all, when they ran the ball on 3rd down, we're all screaming at the TV. I mean, all of us. Come on. Let's be honest. You saw him run the ball, you're like, what are you doing? But no. Then they come running on. It's like, oh, they've practiced this. This is the I don't want to leave any time left on the clock play.
One minute.
For us, Mark, we had a good week. I went 3-3. You went 3-2. Lee went 3-2. Pushed on his game of the week, but got his underdog play of the year.
And they came from behind to do it.
Scored 14 late points, including the last touchdown with like a minute. Yes, that was a backdoor cover for his underdog of the year. Thank you, Jeff. I'm assuming you're not cursing at us.
You know why we didn't both play Clemson? As I'm watching that game going, everybody's leaving there. He told them all to leave. They're not going to get an effort today.
Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
Top of the morning to you as we make a little Miller and Moulton history today. We're going international. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Mark comes at you from the cozy confines of the 239, and I decided road trip. I'm in Mexico City. That's right, south of the border. Everything's in milliliters. Everything is Celsius, pesos. I have no idea what it's 18 degrees in the room. That's what I know, Mark.
Come on, David.
Gesundheit.
Felipe Joe now, because I didn't roll an R. I didn't do something. I Spanish. I just threw it out there at you, and he's ready to leave now because I don't have an accent. Yeah, I'm 53. I don't know what to tell you. I've never spoken other language. It's embarrassing.
There's someone else that wants to press these buttons.
But you know, no, Felipe, you don't speak Spanish. You can enunciate words. You can say things, but you've even told me you don't speak Spanish.
Speak Spanish better than you.
Once again, you're setting the bar very, very low.
You're right, I am. That's a low bar to set.
I'm in Mexico City for Monday Night Football. Niners and Cardinals, where San Francisco is a healthy 8-point favorite. But top of the morning to you, Mark. How was your weekend?
It was good. It was very low key. You know, the daughter's soccer game somehow got canceled on Saturday, so the wife and I had just a very low key, nothing to do, stay at home and watch football weekend. It was terrific.
Was there weather involved, or is it
something happened? I don't know. Another team canceled. I have no idea why.
Okay.
All I know is I got a text on Friday that said no game, and I said, what? I got Saturday morning off.
All right. So the Sun Bowl's in El Paso, which literally is across the street from Juarez, Mexico. I mean, on one side of I-10 is El Paso, and literally on the other side of I-10, on the other side of the shoulder, is Juarez, Mexico. So I've been to Mexico on a couple of Sun Bowl trips in which I've just ventured in and driven around. I actually thought about playing a golf course like 15 years ago. There's a golf course that's visible, and apparently it's pretty decent, and I thought about playing it. Anyway, but this is my first time really going through, immigration, customs, that sort of deal.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I've never, I went to Europe, one time, but it was, the old line from Stripes. It's like going to Wisconsin. You zip in, you zip out. It was nothing. This took a while.
What were you packing that took so long? What were you trying to bring in? An avocado?
It wasn't me. All right. It really was none of us. It just apparently it takes also, like, we couldn't fly into Mexico City because we were on a private plane. And so the airport that takes the private planes is in Toluca, which is about 45 minutes away. And so it was like a 3-pronged process, though, to be able to then continue on your way to Mexico City. You sit on the plane. You're not allowed to leave it. They take your stuff. They bring it in. Then you are are escorted off the plane, and you walk in, and there's a bunch of people there. The plane's all arriving at the same time and a bunch of stuff, and you look and you go, that's ours. Okay, and then they do it in groups. So like if your group was in front of ours, we would wait. Doesn't matter how many people's in your group, 5 or 20. They would do you guys all at once. And the luggage goes through x-rays, and then after going through x-rays, all right, and you going through x-rays, then they bring out the dogs. And I got to admit, it's fun to watch the dogs in the luggage. Okay, because you're deep down, you're wanting the dog to stop at a bag. I know I was.
Really?
I was just hoping that a dog would like sit on my blue, suitcase, because I
You'd
knew
still
nothing
be
was in it.
sitting there.
And maybe, but it would have added a lot of spice to the proceedings. So I was hoping, the dog's doing the laps and sniffing around and what have you. And I really was hoping that the dog would sit on my suitcase and like raise his hand, or maybe because I bring a red bag that's got all the radio equipment in it. I was just hoping that I don't know, something would confuse him and he'd like sit on it and be like, hey, we got to take a look at this. But so, and then after we go through x-rays and the luggage goes through x-rays and the dog gets done with it, then they bring the luggage over and they open it. Okay. And then they say to you, now go back on the plane, and you're going to have to taxi around the corner down to another hangar, and you will meet with your luggage there. And I was very close to saying something, but I realized, okay, don't mess around this time. Okay. Don't be sarcastic. Don't be a.
You actually, in that moment of customs, international travel, thought in my head, hey, how about I make a smart-ass comment right now to see what they take it with?
Well, because this seemed like a very unnecessary step. And also, hold on a second, you could plant something in my suitcase during the time. I mean, but think about it. We're on a private plane and it literally has to taxi, a couple hundred yards down to another hangar. And they're taking our suitcase. And, well, what are you doing with my suitcase? It was right here. We just examined it. It's fine. Why are you taking it? What if it disappears? I don't know who you people are. Okay. I mean, just give me my stuff.
International travel and snarky are not things that go together. I'm very proud of you for holding off, because I do enjoy doing the show with you, and I think spending 5 to 10 years in a Mexican jail is not something you needed to do.
No. And, in the back of my mind, I'm like thinking, listen, don't be the next Brittany Griner. Okay. Just, let's just keep your fingers crossed and hope everything works out. And I guess where they took us and we walked through this building was where our vehicles are allowed to pull up to. And so then we walked through this hangar, and on the other side of it were our 2 vehicles, because there were 5 of us on the plane, and all of our stuff. And it's like, okay, take your stuff and load it in your cars. And so Joe, Troy, and Joe's wife were in one car, and Steve Horn, who's Joe's longtime editorial assistant, 25 years he's been with Joe, Steve and I were in the other car. We had a driver and we had a security guard. And we proceeded to go on a 45-mile drive in which I thought it was a scene out of a Bourne movie. And I'm not exaggerating at all. 3-lane road, beautifully paved. The lanes were barely wide enough for your cars. I mean, you could roll down your window and easily shake the hands of the people who are passengers in the car next to you. I mean, we are side by side for 45 miles. And our driver did not, apparently, I mean, it's the Grand Prix on their roads. I mean, they're constantly darting in and out and what have you. So he's riding, and I'm not kidding, he's riding so close to where the car that Joe and Troy are in, there is not a car length in between us. And we're hauling. And I'm going, oh, this is fun. Now, even for me, I'm thinking, oh, wow. Oh, okay. We got something going on here. So, and it was a lovely ride to hit 2 tolls, 100 pesos both times, which apparently is $5. We drive through the heart of Mexico City. They have like a central park, basically, Mark. It's this huge landmass where they have a forest, a zoo, a castle, walking grounds for everyone. It's free, apparently. The government provides this. It was beautiful. And next thing you know, we pull up to the hotel. Bada bing, bada boom.
Without any snark.
Oh, no. At this point, well, I'm expecting to be in an accident. I mean, the whole way I'm thinking, wow, this is exciting. But I know how these Bourne movies end. I mean, eventually we start ricocheting off cars here.
The difference is you are merely a spotter, not a secret agent.
Well, right. And, they can edit it and do it all over again. I mean, this is real here. We were hauling.
Well, I'm glad you arrived safe, and it's fun that we are doing our first ever international show. Terrific weekend of football.
Yes.
Really good both Saturday and Sunday. A lot of changes now with what happened on Saturday, South Carolina ending Tennessee's season. Whew.
Well, yeah. And now if the SEC is going to get 2, it's going to have to be LSU winning out. Although people are already coming up with formulas where Alabama could sneak in. I love that.
Good for them. Keep those conspiracy theories going as well.
Do want to hear, whether it's the text line, FSN Radio, all one word to 21,000, or in our Twitch chat room, would love to hear from a UCF fan. That was a big loss. And we had a bad feeling about that game at 11 a.m., didn't we, Mark?
Yep.
It was the wrong team at the wrong time in the wrong week. Biggest game of the regular season was the week before on the road. You come home, 11 a.m., you're playing Navy. Those guys need no preparation. They run the same stuff every day for 12 years.
And your offense never woke up.
Never. What, shut out in the second half?
Yep.
Whew. At home? It will likely cost them a spot in the conference championship game. Looks as if UCF is not going to win the necessary tiebreakers, even if they beat South Florida. Whew. It's a big loss.
Incredibly costly, because that's a New Year's Six Bowl that was on the line as well if you could win your conference championship game. So a devastating loss for UCF. That doesn't even get me started with what happened to the folks that play football in Gainesville.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Because Vanderbilt has a winning streak.
Right. At your expense.
Oh, man.
And meanwhile, Florida State right now is taking no prisoners, playing their best ball in 7 years.
Miller and Moulton. Great show lined up for you. We'll talk some soccer as well with Glenn Davis. The World Cup getting started today for the U.S. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa Filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa Filters.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. No, they switched it here too, DC.
Well, they left it early at 37-3.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
And when they left it, the other game was competitive.
right. I thought Mexico plays Wednesday. Also, we're leaving right after the game. We're in the Central Time Zone. Figure Joe and Troy will be done around 10:30-ish. We'll head down. Told it'll take an hour and a half to get from here back to Toluca. I figure we're in the air 12:30 a.m. Central, 2.5-hour flight. We'll land 3-ish, 3:30. I got to be on the air 5 a.m. But I thought Mexico plays Wednesday. That's what I was told.
All I know is at 8 a.m. England and Iran are on.
2 o'clock, right? U.S. and Wales?
Yeah. Senegal and the Netherlands are at 11. That's a full day. Go Raiders. That's nothing. He does get this same thing on the West Coast when it's 3:19 when he starts the show.
Yeah. It's the show's 6 to 10 Eastern, baby. Doesn't matter where I am. It's can't move the show just because Mark goes to Oregon. Don't know what to tell you. That's 3 a.m. where you are, big fella.
Yeah, Central's nothing. It's when you're under Pacific that it's a real son of a gun.
I had to get up yesterday because I was in Lexington and had a 6 a.m. flight out of Cincinnati. I had to get up at 2:45.
Oof. Duh.
Yeah. Oof, that is right.
25
You know what, DC? You make a very good point. I probably should put on the local news. They wear less clothing. That is a very good point.
15 seconds. Here we go.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. I'm in Mexico City. That's where Monday Night Football is taking place. Niners and Cardinals. San Francisco, a solid 8-point favorite, trying to win and hold on to the final playoff spot in the NFC, with the Washington Commanders on a bit of a run here, having won 4 of 5. Thank you very much. Mark, before we get back to the sports and what have you, you've traveled internationally more than I have. So maybe, you would have been, I don't know, more accustomed, more comfortable, what have you. So we're making plans for this trip. And obviously I knew I needed a passport. And I figured, well, what the heck? I'll bring a driver's license too, But we got a letter over the weekend from someone at the 4-Letter Network. And they said, listen, print out this piece of paper and sign it and have it with you. If you run into any trouble, this should get you out of it. And all it literally is a letter with the letterhead on the top left corner of it. And it basically says, hi, so-and-so's here to work. Leave him alone. I mean, it's basically what the letter says. And it made me think of Welcome Back, Kotter. I literally had a note from Epstein's mother. And so when we're on the plane and we're sitting on the tarmac in Toluca and they're going through our stuff and we're wondering, hope there's not any problem, I said, guys, if there's any problem, I got a note from Epstein's mother right here. We're good. We're fine. So
you got a note, huh?
Yeah, literally. I have it. And for the heck of it, I signed it, folded it up, put it in my pocket. So we get to the hotel right around dinner time last night. And I go up to the production manager, who was the one who sent the email. This was her idea. And I said, Jody, I'd really like to thank you, for making the arrangements to get us here. And she just looked at me and I go, we had the private plane and the armed security and the passports and what have you. But it was this note from ESPN that said, listen, okay, leave these guys alone. They're here to do a football game. I go, that's what got us out of trouble. I just thought and she smiled and she goes, when I sent it, I go, hey, it's an all-timer, Jody. It's an all-timer. I will keep it with me forever. My Super Bowl press credential and my note that I can go to Mexico and leave him alone. There it is, right there.
You're special, David.
Don't criticize me. That was a note sent, okay, officially by the 4-Letter Network. Okay. And if you run into any problems, pull out this piece of paper. You should be fine. And I thought at the moment, if Brittany Griner just had one of these, we could have avoided all of this.
Well, I'm sure it's close.
Right.
I'm sure it's close.
If she just could have been going there to work a game instead of playing them, if she was broadcasting the game, she would have been fine.
Exactly.
She would have had a note. Everything would have been okay. I'll show you the note when I get back.
I can't wait to see it.
You'll laugh out loud. But okay, I digress. just little international travel and, how we're going to make it and the whole deal. Well, I got a note. What are you stopping me for?
Yeah, I really hope. And you didn't keep this to yourself. You were close to talking to TSA. I just want you to get in and out of the country safely and securely and to get back. And, well, you scare me internationally. You scare me with travel because your same snark that you think is great at the corner bar works with TSA agents and people in customs. And here's what I'm just going to try to tell you. It doesn't. You and I have always talked about when we have never been able to understand when people are confronted by law enforcement, how they just start doing things that we would never do. We're a yes, sir, no, sir, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am type person. How you don't have that same type of understanding with all forms of authority, particularly when you're not in the country, well, that's you.
I think it's because, Mark, I knew in my front left pocket I had a note. And I figured that note covered sarcasm / snarkiness. So I've been advised to stay in my room, all right, for the rest of the day and just get in the car, go to the game, and keep your mouth shut and go to the plane. So, okay, I guess that's how you want to play it. All right.
Sometimes playing it close to the vest is the right play. Sometimes it is.
Final note. Today's a huge day in the country, and Mexico City is the biggest city in the country. It's the 6th largest city in the world, by the way. For some perspective, New York City's 41st. So in terms of the number of people in Mexico City, I mean, this is a massive city. But Mark, apparently they're celebrating today the revolution. Apparently the revolution in Mexico, which was anywhere from a 6.5 to 10-year ordeal, depending on how you're keeping track. It's kind of like us with the Revolutionary War, Mark. We basically won it by 1781, but it took us a while to get through the paperwork and all that. Same thing with the revolution. It started on November 20th in 1910. And modern Mexico, as it is now, emerged when the revolution was done. And so they're celebrating it today, since the anniversary of it starting was on a Sunday. They're celebrating it today. The entire country is off today. Nobody's working today.
Good day to be there.
It'll be a celebration, and the World Cup's going on. Mexico not playing today, but I am, because the U.S. plays before we have to leave the hotel and go to the game. I am going to try to see just how much they're rooting against us.
It will be a lot. It will be a lot. There's no doubt. They do not like us in that sport. It's our most heated rival, and they will be rooting against us. That's what they enjoy. So I don't know. Maybe you should don the red, white, and blue today and start chanting "I believe" as you walk around, because you're trying so desperately to get in trouble there.
I don't know if I have red, white, and blue, but I know I have white and I have blue. Maybe I could find some red and I could start doing the U.S. men's national team chant walking through the streets of Mexico City. It'll liven up lunch.
At the very least. At the very most, could cause an international incident and you never make it back here. But that seems to be what you're going for on this trip.
I'm not. I'm just, just trying to have a little fun. That's all. But that's probably not the approach to take. Should be more businesslike, more subdued.
Well, there's a lot of ways that people have different definitions of fun.
Right.
Your fun is being snarky and sarcastic and trying to see if you can honk someone off. Others may want to go to that zoo you talked about and walk around. That would be fun to them.
Maybe I should do that also. Don't know if I could walk there from here, but it's not that far away. I could use the exercise, goodness knows. And besides, I've got a note. Let me in here. I've got a note. It's one of the 3 dumbest ideas I've ever heard of in my life. And I love the fact that it came from such a, big company, the worldwide leader, somebody pretty high up, the whole deal. Listen, if you get in trouble, here's a note.
Well, everybody could use a note from time to time, even Epstein, David, as you are going back 40 years to a television show that you and I both loved. For the rest of you, go look it up. Google it, Chuck. The starting five coming up on the other side. We'll go through all the weekend's events, particularly those that happened yesterday in the National Football League, and then we will dive all in to everything that happened on the other side. Thanking you so much for listening to Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs, presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs, powered by Clutch Vodka.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
I thought I saw Midnight Express, Chris. You know, Jeff, I could probably buy something red in the hotel. They've got a bunch of shops. Mom is not texting me, Johnny Mac. She's not concerned. Got to remember, this is who I got those traits from. Mark, you're right. It's like 7,350 feet. That's the altitude. Well, Klecko, was that kind of a day, though? I mean, think about it. 7-3 Illinois, nearly beat, should have beat. Boy, did the officials stick it to Illinois on that final drive. 6-4 Kentucky gave Georgia everything they could handle. 6-4 Maryland gave Ohio State everything they could handle.
Could you imagine if the SEC would have played all conference games that week?
Yeah.
You know, in November when it gets a little tougher, a little sledding's a little tougher out there.
Instead of playing Austin Pay. And yes, I know it's Austin P, but that's how Nick Saban pronounced it all week last week. Yeah, Klecko, the Mafia is amazing. Miller and Moulton thought it'd be like a high school football championship game. Lower tier only. It was more like 48 hours, but still remarkable.
30 seconds. Here we go.
They played UMass, Klecko.
They had to score late.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. I come at you from Mexico City. Monday Night Football tonight, south of the border. Niners, 8-point favorites over the Cardinals. Mark in the cozy confines of the 239. Thanks so much for being with us. A remarkable football weekend that we will begin to recite, beginning now with
The Starting Five. 5 stories you need to know. It's the Starting Five on Miller and Moulton. Here's number 1.
And Mark, it was an enjoyable Sunday with no Bucks, no Finns, no Jags. No problem. Where do you want to start? How about Jeff Saturday was one drive away from being on the short list for Coach of the Year? Colts led the Eagles damn near all day. Jalen Hurts let them down, ran it in from 7 yards out with 1:20 to play. Phillies 9-1. They beat the Colts 17-16.
So disappointed.
No,
The Fighting Saturdays had him. Missed a field goal in the second half that didn't help things.
big crowd in Detroit on 48 hours notice. Around 60,000. Bills beat the Browns 31-23, Buffalo 7-3, Cleveland's 3-7. Did you see how the Patriots beat the Jets? Wow.
David, you kept asking me on Friday, if you took these names off, would you really feel this way? And I said, no, but they're the Jets, and they'll figure out a way to lose this football game because, well, they're the Jets.
It was 3-3 in the closing seconds when Marcus Jones returned punt 84 yards to the house, and he crossed the goal line with 5 seconds to go. Only touchdown of the game. Patriots beat the Jets 10-3. They're both 6-4, but New England swept the Jets, so the Jets went from second to last in the division, but they would make the playoffs in a tiebreaker with the Bengals if the playoffs started today. Lions, Mark, congratulations. What is it that Bruce Arians said? No risk it, no biscuit. You risked it. Congratulations on your biscuit. Mark Miller said the Lions were going to upset the Giants, and they did. 31-18. They dominated the game, held Saquon Barkley to 22 yards rushing. How does the 32nd ranked run defense hold Saquon Barkley to 22 yards?
David, they didn't look like that because they were 8 in the box, and they were going to make sure that he didn't run on him. I watched the majority of the game. It was televised locally, and they didn't play like it. They played like a team that was going to sell out and make Daniel Jones beat him throwing the ball. He couldn't.
It's funny. They played like the Giants, and the Giants played like the Lions, turning it over 3 times, and Detroit ran the ball twice as many times as they threw it. 31-18. The Lions have won 3 in a row. Thank you very much. They're 4-6. Does that put them in second place?
It puts them in second place in the division.
Giants loss drops them to 7-3. Hey, we warned you. Giants lose to the Lions, they could miss the playoffs. Wait for it. It's going to happen. Dallas was really angry at themselves for blowing that Packers game, and they took it out on the Vikings, who had won 7 in a row and were home. And Dallas beat them 40-3. And the game was so bad that Nance and Romo were doing the game, and they switched away from it with a whole quarter to go and sent the rest of the country to Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. Cowboys are 7-3. Vikings are 8-2. Tony Pollard, 2 touchdowns. Zeke with 2 touchdowns. Heineke officially named the starter. That was a shock, considering he led Washington their 5th win in 6 games, 23-10 over Houston. Commanders are 6-5. Houston on the clock at 1-8-1. The Bears are playing exciting football. Excuse me, Mark. Playing exciting football, just not winning football. Another close game. They lose late. Koo with a 53-yard field goal with under 2 minutes to play. Falcons 27-24 over the Bears, who are 3-8. Atlanta, half a game behind Tampa in the South at 5-6. Saints, I guess, hanging in there. Game and a half back. 2 in the loss column. Whatever. 27-20 over the Rams. Dalton with 3 touchdowns. Stafford knocked out of the game again and examined for a concussion. Hey, if you're the Rams at this point, do you just sit everybody? I mean, Kupp's basically out for the year after ankle surgery. I mean, why play Aaron Donald also while you're at it? It's not your first-round pick. Okay, it's going to Detroit. Just like the Saints don't have a first-round pick, it's going to Philly. I mean, at this point, you might as well play for the best second-round pick you can get your hands on, right?
Right. I don't think they'll do it with Darnold, but boy, oh boy, with Stafford now, this is the second concussion, and you've got to start thinking about slowing him down.
Yeah. Rams 3-7, Saints 4-7. Baltimore scored 10 points in the fourth quarter to beat Carolina 13-3. Ravens 7-3, Panthers 3-8. Joe Burrow threw 4 touchdown passes. Bengals over the Steelers 37-30. Cincy 6-4 would still miss the playoffs today because of conference tiebreakers. Pittsburgh is 3-7, and it looks as if Mike Tomlin is definitely going to have his first losing season as a head coach. Carr hit Adams with a 35-yard touchdown in overtime. Raiders over the Broncos 22-16. Both teams are 3-7. And Mahomes found Kelsey for the 3rd time, this time with 31 seconds to go. Chiefs over the Chargers 30-27. Kansas City's 8-2. They have a 3-game lead in the division, and really more than that because they swept the Chargers. Chargers dropped to 5-5. They're a game out of the playoffs. Monday Night Football in Mexico City at altitude, ladies and gentlemen. More than mile high, 7,349 feet above sea level. It'll be the Niners and Cardinals. San Francisco an 8-point favorite. Over-under's 43. And basically, give or take, you're looking at what? 26-17? That's basically how this game is projected. College football, Tennessee not only lost over the weekend, they lost their quarterback, Hendon Hooker, to a torn ACL. Needless to say, he's done. For what it's worth, Mark, the AP and the coaches both came out with a poll yesterday. Top 4 is the same in the AP. They moved USC up to 5th, LSU 6th, Clemson 7th. The coaches poll has the same top 6 as the AP. Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, USC, LSU. But they have Alabama 7th and Clemson 8th. And, you and I aren't right about a lot. You were right about the Lions, and I was right 2 weeks ago in saying Clemson is still very much alive.
Very much alive.
And they are. In fact, if Baylor had held on against TCU, it'd be remarkable how alive they'd be. College hoops from yesterday, Mark. The showdown game was Gonzaga. They beat Kentucky by 16, a battle of top 4 teams. In-state, UCF won the Bahamas Championship. They beat Santa Clara by 7. Miami lost to Maryland by 18. Your neck of the woods, Mark, a couple of tournaments get underway today. You got the Fort Myers tip-off, and then you got the Gulf Coast Showcase. The Fort Myers tip-off, by the way, is played at FSW, Florida Southwestern State. It's a JUCO. Congratulations to them. They won the National Volleyball Championship over the weekend. So congratulations. Second national championship in that school's history. They won the softball championship last spring. Women's college basketball, number 1 against number 2 before a sold-out crowd in Stanford. South Carolina in overtime beat Stanford 76-71. South Florida winner yesterday against TCU by 7, and FGCU in Hawaii beat San Diego by 8. Miami lost to DePaul by 15. NBA, the Heat are really depleted, Mark, and after losing a heartbreaker with just 7 players on Friday night by 1 in overtime, they were mauled by Cleveland yesterday, 113-87. Knicks got beaten Phoenix by 21. Brooklyn, they had the game back together. Kyrie played.
Yeah.
We had a Ben Simmons sighting with 22 points. It's just one big happy family. Brooklyn over Memphis, 127-115. Golden State beat Houston by 7. A shorthanded Denver. They were without 3 starters. They still went into Dallas and beat the Mavs 98-97. The Sacramento Kings are 9-6. Break them up. They beat the 3-15 Pistons 137-129. Washington had Charlotte. And the Lakers, no LeBron. They've won 3 in a row. I'm just saying. That's all. Just the facts. There were 2 games in hockey. Apparently 5-3 was the score of the night. Columbus beat the Panthers 5-3, and the Penguins got a goal and 3 helpers from Sid in a 5-3 win over Chicago. The World Cup got underway yesterday, Mark. Ecuador beat the host nation Qatar 2-0. 2 o'clock today. USA, Wales. It's on, baby. We're doing this. This is considered the key match in the group for the U.S. We'll talk to Glenn Davis about it in an hour and a half. But it's the U.S., it's Great Britain, it's Wales, it's Iran. The thought is, got to beat Wales. Got to get a W today. Golf in Naples, Lydia Ko won the CME Group Tour Championship by 2. She wins $2 million, which is the richest prize in women's golf. She wins Player of the Year award, the scoring title. Mark, she won 3 points over the weekend. You know the LPGA Hall of Fame, they do it by points. You get 1 point for all this stuff. She got 3 points over the weekend. She's only like 3 points away from being a Hall of Famer. John Rahm won the DP World Tour Championship.
Where'd they play it?
Mark, it's funny. They played it in Dubai.
Okay.
Right. With a bunch of golfers playing in the tournament who have a problem with the LIV because, well, where the money's coming from. John Rahm won the tournament by 2, but Rory finishing in the top 4, he won the season-long championship 4th time. So I will say this, Rory didn't win a major this year, hasn't won one in 8+ years, but he did win the PGA Tour Championship, season-long championship, and he did win the European season-long championship. I mean, he did have a hell of a year.
He did. Means nothing until he gets a major, because that's how you're judged in that sport.
And he also became the commissioner of the PGA Tour and the spokesperson for golf as a whole. I mean, he was busy this year. You got to give him that. The PGA Tour, by the way, the RSM Classic was played in southern Georgia. Canadian Adam Svensson won it by 2. And I believe, gentlemen, that's enough. That was
the Starting 5 every weekday morning at this time on Miller and Moulton.
So that's what I got. Get you caught up. And Saturday was crazy. Great games. great games. Maybe the SEC, Mark, as you commented on Friday and commented during the commercial break, the SEC may want to actually play a bunch of conference games this weekend because, it's late in the season and, certain teams are playing for certain things and certain teams are banged up and tired. And, it created, a bunch of great games.
Really great games. TCU Baylor was a great game. Iowa Minnesota was a great game. Both Ohio State and Michigan had to struggle to get by Maryland and Illinois, respectively, to meet up next week or meet up on Saturday in what will be a classic Ohio State-Michigan game. But they had to get through Illinois and Maryland first. They weren't playing Austin Peay to set themselves up for their rivalry game.
And USC got it done. Their first win against a ranked opponent in 3 years. They beat their arch rival. And they are poised. You got to think if they went out, right? Maybe?
Yes.
Well, what if LSU beats Georgia?
I don't think the loser of Michigan, Ohio State can get in front of a conference champ.
I agree with you, but very quickly, let's play it out. LSU beats Georgia. The thought is Georgia is in. So then, and let's have TCU run the table. So if you're going to put in 2 from the SEC and TCU is, and the Big Ten champions 13-0, right? I mean, could USC be left out?
It's possible.
Wouldn't it come down to USC or LSU?
100%.
If you're the Pac-12, how do you like your chances? Head-to-head with an SEC school for the
with an
final
SEC
spot in the
champ.
playoff. Right.
Not an SEC school. I mean, it'd be one thing to be taking on an Alabama team that's not a conference champion, but it's the SEC champ versus the Pac-12 champ. It's going to be very difficult for that team to get in. Oh, boy. Miller and Moulton, we thank you for listening. We will get into the college football playoff on the other side. More football talk on a Reaction Monday right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Chris, I don't understand the question. Am I having Thanksgiving with the FSU coach and his family? I don't understand that.
I think they're just saying having you because you've had their back so much, David. I think that's just merely.
Oh, okay.
Are you getting invited over for Thanksgiving? That's all.
Gotcha. I was going to say. So if Iowa beats Nebraska, they're in. And if they lose and Purdue beats Indiana, Purdue's in. Do you see the fourth quarter, Iowa, Minnesota?
I did not. I mean,
So Minnesota's in the red zone, tie game, 10 minutes to go. They hand it third down. They hand it to their bell cow back, and he fumbles. And Iowa recovers on like the 13. And they proceed to go on a 9-minute drive all the way down to the 3 and kick the field goal at damn near the gun.
I didn't see the drive. I saw the field goal.
For the pig. For Floyd. Win one for Floyd.
I was watching a little bit of Game Day. It was cold, like 2 degrees cold. I don't like Desmond on that show because I don't think he brings a whole lot to the table, but my God, was he funny. He's like, my toes are still in Miami. I mean, McAfee just called him out. He goes, you don't even look like you want to be here anymore. Something along. I mean, it was funny.
So video was released apparently during the commercial breaks. They were like lighting a fire up near Herb Street's feet.
Herbie had the Indiana Jones hat on.
Yep. Boy, did Illinois get zebraed on that final drive.
Oh, really?
Wow.
You really think that pass?
Wow. Not that the pass interference was not even the controversial call. It was the 4th and 3, the pick. Oh my God. They're literally going to show that at officiating that this is a pick. Okay, look, see, he does passes beyond the line of scrimmage. He engages with that is a pick. That is a textbook pick. Right in front of the official on the Michigan sideline. Yeah, but RCB, here's the funny thing. For all that Florida State and Norvell have accomplished this year, they got to beat the Gators.
30 seconds.
Got to win the game. No excuse losing to this Gators team. Yeah, that line was 7 before the games were played Saturday.
10 seconds.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
It is hour 2 of Miller and Moulton. Bit of a historic show for us because, well, I'm in Mexico City. We've never done this where one of us has been out of the country. I'm here for Monday Night Football in the altitude over 7,000 feet above sea level. Niners an 8-point favorite against the Cardinals. Over under a 43 for those of you so inclined. Mark in the cozy confines of the 239 as we begin to look back at what was a very fun and eventful football weekend.
What do you want to do? Do you want to react to Saturday or overreact to Sunday? Because I think there'll be both going on. Because there's, you can't really overreact from Saturday. There was reactions from a lot of games, a lot of different angles. And then you can overreact from what you saw yesterday. People will.
Well, I'd like to go back Saturday, and can we just stay in state for a little bit? Curious, can Gator fan just dismiss Saturday? It's first year under Napier. Whatever. This is a, pay our dues season, weed out, the guys that aren't going to be part of the program going forward. We all know the excuses that, everybody's can make. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, Vandy did just beat Kentucky on the road the week before. But man, that was a bad showing.
I don't know how you can dismiss it from Florida's standpoint. You just got done whacking South Carolina. You felt pretty good about yourselves. Seemed to be establishing an offense. Seemed to be finding a few things. And to lose and then have a second half the way that you did.
Man, what did we think? We were going to have a Florida State team in which both fan bases are going to feel good about their school, that they're building something. They're on the upswing. Man, oh man. Can't take a week off, boys. When you're 6-4, you can't take a week off. You just can't. You haven't done enough. Sorry. And besides, Mark, can sport get any crazier? Florida demolishes South Carolina, who then demolishes Tennessee.
Yeah, I think the Gamecocks just scored again.
He scored in 7 previous SEC games. South Carolina had scored 18 total touchdowns. That's not even 3 a game. How many touchdowns did they score Saturday? 9.
9 times.
Wow. Okay. And so for as bad as the Gators were, how about UCF not ready to play? It's a big game, man. You're playing to get in the conference championship. Yeah, I know you beat Cincinnati and you beat Tulane, but all that did was put you in position. You got to finish this sucker. You're nationally ranked, man. Come on now. And then, okay, you dig yourself out from your, sleepwalking 11 a.m. start, and you're tied at the half. You can't outplay Navy with a berth basically in the conference championship game at stake. Mark, that was a big game for Gus. And to lose it at home, I mean, you got the fan base now looking around going, yeah, I know what he did at Auburn. It was really, but how come he's not doing it here? 9-3, even if they beat South Florida, with you look at who the losses were to, a UCF fan's going to go, with this team, we didn't get in the conference championship game? Seriously?
Come out in the third quarter, you score right away and look like, all right, you fixed it. And then nothing.
Zip, zilch, nada. With that vaunted Navy defense. That was sarcasm.
No, we got it.
Okay. So Florida, UCF, and let me tell you, then the Miami Hurricanes said, hold our beer, boys.
You and I both had decent weeks picking games, and you even called the Navy game before it happened. Just said, this is a tough spot. Pay attention. And I think responded on air with South Carolina at night could be a tough spot. I wasn't picking. I didn't think that was good. I just said it's going to be a tough spot. I didn't go pick South Carolina. I'm not saying that. But to for UCF there to lay an egg in the second half the way they did, with
And
a
then
New Year's Six Bowl opportunity there.
Yeah. And then Miami,
But
I
the
mean,
Canes,
100 yards?
we should have saw that coming though. When he made the comments that he did, pick up your kids if they're upset about playing time. There's a mutiny going on right there, and Mark's going to win. We all know that, but right now they don't want to be there. The other half that are there might not be good enough.
Well, but then I don't understand. Why did they show up the week before at Georgia Tech? And by the way, figure that out. So Miami beats Georgia Tech, and then Georgia Tech goes and beats 13th ranked North Carolina. I mean, this was a bat blank crazy college football weekend.
Probably ended, what's his name, the quarterback for NC there. His Heisman hopes are done after that game.
Well, Mark, most of the top 5 for the Heisman. I mean, if Stetson Bennett had a chance to play himself into the Heisman, he threw for about 120 yards against Kentucky.
And a bad reception in the game as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, maybe he gets invited to New York, but he's certainly not going to win it. The North Carolina quarterback now, Hooker with the torn ACL and them losing a second game. I mean, to me, it seems like this is now C.J. Stroud's Heisman to lose in the last 2 weeks. I mean, maybe the kid from USC, but it seems as if this is C.J. Stroud's Heisman right now.
I think so, and I think the kid from Michigan with, historic performance against Ohio State could steal it. Corum there, the running back, maybe. Because there's so many eyeballs on that game. Especially
since he got hurt against Illinois and came back. Right, and it looks really serious. So, but I mean, man, Saturday was nuts. And a bunch of terrific games. I mean, Illinois nearly beating Michigan until the officials helped bail them out. Maryland giving Ohio State everything they could handle. The USC-UCLA game. The Baylor-TCU game.
How about the Baylor-TCU game, too? They come down, they score, they go for 2 to tie it, don't get it, but get the ball back.
Well, they had 3 timeouts, got the 3 and out, used all the timeouts, and had enough time. And how about that? Talk about coaching. If you haven't seen the final 21 seconds of TCU Baylor, you need to go watch it. That is coaching and execution right there.
It's execution. You're right that it's coaching. It's coaching Monday through Friday, but damn it, that's execution by those young men on Saturday. That's both the first team offense and the special teams executing to perfection at the end of that game.
Because let's be honest, everyone who was watching that game, Baylor, TCU's got 3rd and long, no timeouts left, and they run the ball. And we're all screaming at the TV, "What are you doing?" And then just like clockwork, man, that special teams unit runs out onto the field. They sit down. The offense runs off quickly. That kicker still had time to order a coffee, Mark. They had 3-4 seconds still on the clock?
Yeah.
When they snapped it? And by the way, that was not, that was not the picture perfect wedge to 3 feet for birdie on the par 5. That was a little thin, maybe even a little off the toe. Okay, it was kind of low. It had the exorbitant draw to it. It went exactly where it was supposed to, but it wasn't exactly how you draw it up. But that kick might as well have been picture perfect for TCU. 29-28. That was a loss for me, though. I was given 2.5. Tough to win a game given 2.5 and lose. That had UCLA in 2.5. What'd they lose by, Mark? 3. Yeah. Yep. But hey, you had the pick of the weekend. You had the guts to stay with it. No risk it, no biscuit. You get the biscuit. Should be a big one. Put anything you want on it. Honey, butter, peanut butter, whatever you want on it. Jelly, you name it. You picked the Lions straight up to beat the Giants.
And now Giants.
Oh, boy.
We told you this. We told you how big this game was for the Giants. And were they a real team or were they a mirage? They looked like a mirage yesterday. And now they've got to face a lot of division opponents.
Well, think about it. They're going to lose Thanksgiving in Dallas. They're going to fall to 7-4. Washington with a key game against Atlanta at home. Let's say they win it. And then the Giants will play Washington. The Giants will be 7-4. Washington will be 7-5. And just like that, losers in last place in the East. Now, it may still be good enough to be a playoff team, kind of like the AFC East right now. The Jets are technically in last. They'd also have the final playoff spot in the AFC. You know, just how we all saw it. AFC, NFC East being the dominant divisions, and the Western divisions both being in, chaos.
Tells you how little we know every year going into this thing, because it was the two West that were going to be so good and the two East that could be really bad divisions, because the Jets, of course, are not going to be good, and the Patriots were falling apart. And what could the Dolphins do? And then on the other side, obviously, a lot of us had the Giants picking in the first 5 picks.
Of course, I did. And I'm a fan. But got to give it up to Kirk Ferentz. He's one of the oldest coaches. He's been at his school longer than anybody else has been at their school. He's been there, 24 years? And they were awful first part of the year. They couldn't score a touchdown if they were left alone on the field by themselves. And now they're 1 win away from the Big Ten championship game.
Still don't know if they can score a touchdown left on the field by themselves.
You got a dadgum good point. I will say the defense is really good. And Purdue, for the 8th straight year, they go home with Floyd. They won the damn pig. Floyd from Rosedale stays in Iowa. Iowa 13-10 over Minnesota. They've got the inside track to win that side.
I will pig from all that does look like a heavy trophy.
Yes.
It looks like it takes multiple players to hoist that around. I'm sure one could do it by themselves, but the pig has some substance to it.
Well, if you thought about it, if you had a real live pig, wouldn't it take 2 offensive linemen probably for a real live pig? Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for being with us. Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Well, I didn't see any snow on the drive in from Toluca. I believe Mexico City is south from the private airport that we landed at, but I didn't see any snow. The temperature yesterday was in the 50s. Well, Johnny Yo, sorry about that. Hope you feel better.
Wow. The fried egg story here on the LPGA. Did you see this, David? Apparently Serena Williams was supposed to speak at their season-ending dinner, and she canceled, and then all the players who were supposed to be there didn't show.
Huh.
Terry Duffy. On Saturday, Duffy, in his own words, exceptionally disappointed with the leadership of the LPGA. It's an embarrassment to a company of my size, and it's embarrassment to me personally.
Who's that?
The CEO of the tour.
The commissioner?
I'm sorry, the CME Group chairman.
Right. I actually saw him on NBC. I saw the first half hour of the golf yesterday, waiting in Dallas. And he actually came on and did, the 5-minute thing with Terry Gannon. And they didn't talk about that at all, obviously.
Well, of course not.
Right. They talked about the glorious event Wednesday night with the Keith Urban concert and honoring the 19-year-old from Thailand there with Rookie of the Year. And she gave a very nice speech. But
you don't really want your big sponsor mad at.
No, who's handing out the biggest check in the sport by far.
And no one got word to Duffy that none of them were there, and he apparently told a couple of them that was going to have them stand up one by one, and they're not even in the room. And
wow,
yeah, it was a kerfuffle.
Now you could see where the players are like Saturday night, like, dude, we're got a tournament.
He also said, I'm concerned about the future of the tour because the leadership needs to work with their players and make sure that everybody has a clear understanding how we grow the game together along with sponsors and others. If they say it takes a village, I think their village is getting a little fractured.
Wow.
That's not good.
Conditions look tough yesterday. Windy.
They must have been because it was cold. It was cold and windy. It's fine today. It's already 65. Yesterday, everything was in the 50s, and it was cool and flat out windy. It was not Florida golf. South Carolina had 9 touchdowns. The Jets had 6 first downs.
Wow. There's a stat.
Well, the Jets were playing a little better defense.
10 seconds.
Oh.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes after the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. I come at you from Mexico City. Monday Night Football tonight south of the border. First game south of the border since before the pandemic. I think 2019, the last time they had one of these. Niners and Cardinals, San Francisco an 8-point favorite. Big game. San Francisco wins. They tie Seattle for first. And both those teams stay ahead of Washington for a playoff spot. You lose, all of a sudden you're on the outside looking in. I know they did it last year, but do you really want to be doing it? And for Arizona, probably their season at 4-6. With a win, well, they're at least in the area code. With a loss, we start talking about whether or not people are going to get fired.
Very true. One thing we will be talking about and hearing all day today, David, the Cowboys with that big win, they will be the talk of the day. That's why I said, do you want to react to Saturday or overreact to Sunday? Because the biggest overreaction, David, will be the performance of the Dallas Cowboys, who in everybody's estimation now probably are going to the Super Bowl as the NFC representative. I mean, after that win, how could they not after playing the way they did yesterday?
Well, just ask their owner / general manager. He actually used the phrase that pays, Super Bowl. That team there that I saw, that team looks capable of going to a Super Bowl. How was that? Was that all right?
Oh, not bad. Not bad.
I was a little off to start. I thought I came around.
You came through. I'll give you a 6.5 out of 10 because of the start.
So the ebbs and flows of a season and the hype machine. I mean, Mark, think about it. Cowboys won by 5 touchdowns and the Lakers have won 3 in a row. I mean, blow up the talking head shows. Oh, my goodness. And if you want to get crazy, you can actually carve a path for Alabama to make the playoff. I mean, it was a hell of a weekend.
But everything that was nice that was said about the Vikings in the last week can all be taken away. They look terrible.
Well, Mark, the thing that was most surprising was that it didn't get dark in Minnesota until after halftime. I mean, Kirk Cousins is not a primetime performer, but that involves it being dark outside. Kirk's really good when it's still light outside. I didn't realize the 4:25 slot also, pertained to Kirk and the boys not looking. I didn't realize it had to be a 1 o'clock. I mean, I was counting on a good first half before it went south.
We've already had the time change, David, and I think even in Minneapolis, it started getting dark at about 4:30 Central, so it was about an hour into the game, early second quarter. So if he didn't have a 3-touchdown lead by the end of the first quarter, things were not going to go well for Kirk Cousins and crew. But this just in, Dallas can run the football. And when they commit to running the football, they can be a very good football team.
They did something yesterday. It's a crazy idea. They played to their strengths as a team and even individually, because at this stage of the season and of their careers, Tony Pollard is a more dynamic running back than Ezekiel Elliott. And even though Zeke scored 2 one-yard run touchdowns, and Zeke is a tremendous short yardage back, and Zeke should be on the field when the ball's inside the 5. But they played to Tony Pollard yesterday, and he had nearly 200 yards rushing and receiving and 2 touchdowns. And what's that stat? Every time Tony Pollard has 15 or more touchdowns, they don't lose. Ever. It's a crazy thing going on in Dallas. Okay. They're actually, Mark, figuring out who they are. Now, if they can just get the quarterback to stop audibilizing out of running plays to throw the ball, they may actually go to that big, crazy game.
They might. But that'll be the biggest overreaction of the day, is now the Cowboys' Super Bowl hype will reach a crescendo by about 10:30 this morning.
The one thing to keep in mind, Dallas is still 2 behind the Eagles. So the Eagles can afford to lose Christmas Eve in Dallas and still win the division, which means the Cowboys, no matter how good they are, would do nothing but play road games in the playoffs. They could be a 14-3 road team. Now, you think if you're that good, and if they're going to start playing the way they played yesterday, that game will travel. At that team playing that game, it doesn't matter where the game is played. But Mark,
that thinks playing away from home is good for Dallas because it forces them to play that game, David. Forces them to be a run-first football team. And if Dallas is a run-first football team playing tough defense, they're a really tough out.
But that Philly loss to Washington is also a division loss. I don't believe the Cowboys have a division loss at Philly. They can make that back up at home on Christmas Eve, which could then give them the tiebreaker if they beat the Giants on Thanksgiving. And then they've already beaten Washington once, right? Haven't they already played Washington once and beat them?
Oh, you're asking me to memorize schedules, so
Sorry. But because Philly lost at home to Washington,
right.
that could be the difference in a head-to-head division tiebreaker if Dallas is, in fact, going to get on a roll here and beat the Eagles even on Christmas Eve.
You are correct. They whipped up on the Commanders 25-10 earlier this year.
So Dallas may be 2 back, but right now they have the better division record if they're going to win everything going forward. So just keep that in mind.
And it looks as if on the other side, things will be going through Kansas City once again.
Fifth year in a row.
We're pretty close to being able to put an X next to them.
Well, what are you saying?
If we didn't do so last night.
Well, what are you talking about? 3-game lead in the division, and they have the tiebreaker on the second place team. What are you saying? Saying that division's over?
It's over. It's over.
Well, then I want an X next to my Tennessee Titans too. I want that election declared.
I have no problem with that. I thought we gave you that a week and a half ago. And with the fucking Saturday's loss, I think it's a for sure thing after this weekend.
The Vikings do have a 4-game lead in the Central or the North there. Are we willing?
Oh, heck yes.
Okay. All right.
Heck yeah.
All right. Just didn't know. Lions have won 3 in a row here. I didn't know if
they sure have.
Didn't know if we're thinking crazy thoughts here.
I'm not. If anybody else is, they can text the show and we'll calm them down. 21,000's the number. FSN radio is the keyword. If that's a thought that you have, then I don't want to randomly drug test you. I just want to talk you off that ledge. That's okay.
So think about what we're saying. We're not even to Thanksgiving yet. We're declaring 3 of the 8 divisions already over. Huh. It's very NFL, very non-NFL like there. For as much parity as we have, not necessarily in 3 divisions this year.
Not even close. The 4-6 Lions, like they're going to catch the Vikings. That's funny.
Hey, won 3 in a row.
4-6 Colts, like they're going to catch the Titans. And the Chargers and the Chiefs? Who do you like there? Chiefs. Are you sure? Yeah, I am.
So that's summing up Saturdays and Sundays a little bit there. And that's with no Bucks, no Finns, no Jags even playing this week. Nice to let the Florida teams back into the league this weekend. It's your first place Miami Dolphins, ladies and gentlemen. I just want to say that again. It's your first place Miami Dolphins.
We'll get their hype train going later in the week. That's for certain. Miller and Moulton. Talking some World Cup next hour with Glenn Davis right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles Or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K. Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. Not even close, Klecko. It's not even close how off that is. And we looked it up, and it's the only reason I know because Felipe made that comment 4 or 5 weeks ago, and they would need to play together for another 6 years.
And Kelsey's 33.
If you go look it up, it's while his numbers are great and he's a first ballot Hall of Famer and all that stuff, their numbers together aren't anywhere near what Brady and Gronk are.
And while that might be true, I think if you compare the primes towards the primes, like the pinnacle
you
versus
take
the pinnacle.
Go look at it.
I don't know, man.
By the way, how many Super Bowls Mahomes and Kelsey win?
That's the thing. One.
Well, it's kind of a big
Kind of
thing.
a big thing.
If you're going to make the argument, okay, and also, who did they lose one of their Super Bowls to? Brady and Gronk. The tiebreaker right now, first off, for Mahomes and Kelsey to get into a position where it goes to a tiebreaker. But the tiebreaker right now, TB12 and Gronk have.
Which makes me so mad because that Super Bowl should have gone differently, but that game pissed me off.
It's funny. I was rooting for Brady and the Bucks.
That makes perfect sense. We're old. He's old.
Right.
You know, Felipe's young, wants the young guy. Makes perfect sense.
Right. Totally.
But I just knew that was going to be the case. It was going to be the tiebreaker.
Yeah, you get 25 minutes to figure out what channel the soccer's on and where to find it.
Oh, I know where it is.
All right. Yeah, I just was reading that, Spitz.
Well, you know why? Because apparently they had a bunch of meetings this week in which Wilson's unhappy with the play calling. So Hackett gave up the play calling, gave it to somebody else, and then they went out and performed the way they performed. And Hackett now knows he's losing his job, so he's just going to throw Russell Wilson under the bus. And Denver fans, don't worry, the contract extension hasn't even kicked in yet. Oh, by the way, that first-round pick, yes, Seattle has it.
Ooh,
3 of the top 10 picks in the draft could go to teams who made trades, right? Eagles with the Saints, Lions with the Rams. And
so right now, picks 5, 6, and 7.
There you go.
5, 6, 7, and 10, David. I've got the Tankathon up in front of me.
Who's 10?
New Orleans in Philadelphia has that pick.
Okay, well, so it's Seattle is Denver's.
That's at
the Eagles
5.
have New Orleans.
Right now, it goes Denver, which is Seattle's pick, Rams, which is Detroit's pick, Cleveland, which is Houston's pick.
Oh, I forgot Cleveland, Houston.
And then Pick 20 is San Francisco, Denver. That goes to Denver. Where and Miami 4. That's right. Miami doesn't have a pick.
Wait a minute. They traded away the Niners pick to get Tyreek Hill. Don't
Right.
they have their own?
They forfeited it. That's that whole.
Oh, is that Stephen Ross?
Yep.
Huh. That's okay. That's working. That deal's working out all right. Houston right now is picks 1 and 7.
Hey, Detroit's got picks 6 and 13.
Yeah, but that 13's on the rise, Mark.
Well, they play Buffalo.
Short week, baby.
I know. Could you imagine if they beat the Bills?
Here.
Panic in Buffalo?
Go.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"22 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. JP Shadrick, who does pre and post on the Jags Radio Network. He's also a play-by-play voice for Westwood One. He made his first ever trip to the Rose Bowl. He called that USC-UCLA game. Wow, what a lousy game. 48-45.
Yep, and USC gets it done how? The late interception,
Of
because
course.
that's what they do.
Yep. Just their turnover margin's like plus 74 this year. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
But there they are. They're very much in it. And this just in, they're named USC. You know, that's one of those illustrious programs that usually wins tiebreakers, you know. Who are we going to put in? So-and-so and USC. Oh, did you say USC could be invited to the dance? Wait, you mean the semifinal matchup in Atlanta could be Georgia and USC?
So is there any way for the Big Ten to get 3 teams in this thing?
I will say there is certainly, it looks like they could get 2. They have 2 chances to get 2. I know the Pac-12 is really torn here. They're like, man, we'd like a representative, but not USC.
But not USC.
Those blankety blanks. But JP will join us coming up in 20 minutes. We'll talk to him about, just his look-see at USC, who right now is very much alive. They got Notre Dame in a Pac-12 title game. They've got a tough road, all right, but they got through the first part of it. This is Pocono Raceway, Mark. That's a 3-turn track. USC got through turn 1. They're headed to the tunnel turn 2, Notre Dame. And see if they can get through the tunnel turn. You usually can't set up the car for the tunnel turn. You set it up for turns 1 and 3 at Pocono. Turn 2, you're kind of on your own.
And Notre Dame's found a little offense. After the 0-2 start, what have they won? 9 of 10 or 8 of 9 or whatever the hell it is.
8 of 9. Now they've become a salty 8-3 team. Yep. So it's a really good college football season. And I don't know if it would be better if we had 12 with all the intrigue and all the games that took place, or if, in fact, Mark, right now, this is shaping up as this could be the best, most meaningful championship Saturday the sport's ever had. I mean, you could have an unbeaten TCU needing a win to get in. An SEC championship game very rarely has the game, quite frankly, had this kind of meaning. LSU, Georgia, if they both can win one more. And then if USC gets by Notre Dame, you have a Pac-12 championship game in which certainly the conference and USC will feel, well, come on, if we win, we're in. 12-1, their only loss is to a top 15 team on the road on a 2-point conversion on damn near the final play of the game. And that doesn't get you in. Pac-12 schedule and Notre Dame as your non-conference game?
Clemson now, by the way, will play South Carolina, who just got done whacking Tennessee. Just
right.
done whacking Tennessee. And yes, it hurt them that North Carolina lost to Georgia Tech. It did. There's no question. But Clemson, of all schools, with their recent history in this college football playoff, could win 2 more games, be sitting there at 12-1, and clearly be the 5th team. Maybe the 6th for that matter.
I mean, in our last 7 college football playoffs, they have played for the national championship 4 times. 4 times in the last 7 seasons. I mean, I keep saying this, not trying to disparage this school, but this is not Wake Forest. This is Clemson. When the season started, all right, there were 4 elite programs: Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and Clemson. And now here we are. And also, Mark, even though it's very unlikely, the winner of Ohio State, Michigan is going to have to make sure they don't have what we saw a lot of last weekend, which was letdowns. Ohio State and Michigan both struggled to win. Why? They were looking ahead. And let's be honest, the Big Ten championship game is a letdown for Ohio State and Michigan. It is.
After the game they're going to play on Saturday? Of course it is.
And they could be facing a team you really don't want to play because they can muck it up and slow it down. And next thing you know, it's 10-6, late third quarter. You're like, what the heck? Why is Iowa even here?
Buckeyes are an 8-point favorite to open against Michigan.
Did you see the pick that wasn't called?
Yes. You mean the block? The downfield block where he was able to get not 1, but really 2 men on the block.
Bielema, did you see his quote after the game?
Yes, I did.
He basically said, I'm sick of this blank. This happens all the time. And he accused essentially the league of conspiring to make sure that the teams in Columbus and Ann Arbor are the ones that continue to have the success. I mean, don't get me wrong. I agree with everything he said. But if I'm a league, I don't know what I can find him. And I got to be honest, Mark, if I'm the commissioner of that league, I think I suspend him for the season finale.
He doubled down even furthermore because someone tweeted out the play and Bielema retweeted it saying, to all Illinois players, coaches, and especially for our fans, we will work all week in practice to defend this play, especially on 4th down.
And this is a really tough spot for a league because, quite frankly, okay, the officiating crew, or certainly the 1 or 2 officials on the Michigan sidelines, they should not work the rest of the year. They shouldn't. I mean, that's horrendous officiating. Horrendous. I'm sorry. You're just not, you're done. You're suspended for the rest of the year. Especially that one near official scrimmage. I mean, that's got to be the play actually as the official you're looking for. They run it nonstop. Come on. You don't think they're going to run some sort of rub or pick in that situation?
There's a rub and a pick, and there's a downfield block. I mean, there's trying to be subtle about it. This guy engaged the defensive back and literally pushed him into the second defensive back. It was a brilliant block.
Oh, no, tremendous. But, I mean, he didn't even fake it. I mean, he wasn't even trying to be subtle about it.
No.
It was
You
a
said this
blatant.
earlier, David. You said it in the first hour, and you're right. This is a play that officials would use to teach how to properly call illegally blocking downfield. This
Yes.
would be
Textbook.
here's the textbook mistake where it wasn't called. Let's show you this play again, guys. Do you see here? This receiver doesn't even attempt to run a route. He engages and blocks.
And the only way that play is legal is if the pass is behind the line of scrimmage. It wasn't. It was 4th and 3. The other receiver ran a short out. The pass was thrown 5 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. It's clearly an illegal block by the receiver. It's clearly offensive pass interference. It was obvious. It was obvious to people sitting on their couches live. That's how obvious it was. But if you're the commissioner, Mark, I mean, I'm torn. First off, I'm not letting that crew work the final weekend of the season. I'm not. Okay. But secondly, at the same time, I mean, Bielema came out and basically said that the games are rigged. That if it gets tight and the league needs Ohio State and Michigan to win a game, that basically whatever, levers need to be pulled to win the game are going to get pulled to help them win the game. I mean, that's what he strongly implied. As a commissioner, you can't have your coaches say that, even if the whole league believes it. I mean, listen, if you're a Big Ten fan, you've believed forever that the league runs through Columbus first and Ann Arbor second. Okay, in the SEC, they believe the whole league goes through Tuscaloosa. They do. Ask any of the other 13 schools. I mean, Birmingham is 50 miles from Tuscaloosa. I mean, the league still to this day thinks that Alabama runs the league. But if if Brian Kelly had lost to Alabama on a controversial play and he came out and said, well, I know I'm new to this here league, but it sure does seem as if all the forces are aligned to help Alabama win. I mean, if you're Greg Sankey, you got to pound him if he had said something like that.
All right, David, you are big on not, the whole with different issues. You don't have to fire everybody. Can you just fine him and let him coach this week?
Sure, you could. You could, but I think you have to seriously consider going the next step. Because the other thing is, Mark, these coaches Mark Stoops just signed a contract extension because apparently Nebraska was really after him. Do you know what Mark Stoops at Kentucky is now making a year? $8.6 million. I mean, what are you going to find Brett Bielema that he can't? I mean, he probably can't peel the fine off, but he could call his wife and say, hey, transfer $100,000 to this account.
I got you. What's suspending him against Northwestern going to do differently?
Prevent coaches from saying that the league is fixed.
And you know that he didn't say those words. He ran right up there.
He did. Didn't use the word fixed. But come on now, everybody heard him. And what was he implying? The league is fixed for Ohio State and Michigan. If they need a call, they're going to get it.
David, I'm 53. I grew up in Saginaw, Michigan. I'm a Michigan State fan. I don't think there's anything that he said that wasn't true.
I know. But if you're the commissioner, you can't just sit there and nod and go, well, he's just spitting out facts. I mean, come on now.
It's going to be really interesting when they fine him and or suspend him, and then they rule that the thing that he's ticked off about was 100% correct. I mean, there is part of this, David, when you look at this, because you can't, this is like the FIFA president going up and trying to say, no, it's great in Qatar. Everything is perfect. You look at yourselves here. What the hell's wrong with this country? Look at the hypocrisy that you're giving me. I mean, I don't know what Kevin Warren's supposed to do. He's supposed to fine him. He's supposed to suspend him and say, and oh yeah, by the way, that was a pick play.
Well, no, he doesn't acknowledge it's a pick play. It's just that Steve Shaw, the head of officiating college sports, will have it as part of their seminar in May. You just let it quietly happen. Steve gets to stand for the room and go, now, guys, by the way, this is offensive pass interference. Let me show you. It's like back in the day. John Madden There was a controversial fumble that wasn't called in an AFC Championship game. It hurt Madden and the Raiders. They lost a close game to Denver. Denver got credit for a touchdown where Rob Lytle, running back, clearly fumbled before he crossed the goal line. So years and years later, they're having an instant replay discussion, and the commissioner's up there, Roselle, and the whole deal. And finally, when he's done, John Madden's in the back of the room, and he stands up and he says, "Are you willing to admit it was a fumble?" It was 10 years later. So that's what's going to go on here. That's what I would do if I was commissioner, honestly. And then I would turn to, my associate commissioner and go, I can't believe we blew that call.
I just want to be in the room somewhere in the back when this conference call is going on. I just want to be the executive assistant that's got to take notes for this sucker.
I'm being very serious for 10 seconds. You're Kevin Warren. What are you doing? You just going to fine him?
I'm going to fine him.
50 grand, 100 grand?
Something like that. I'm not suspending him for a game. And I don't think it hurts any of Kevin Warren's credibility. I don't.
Okay.
It's a heated coach after a game being ticked off.
So you're okay with your coaches saying the league is fixed so that certain schools can win? I just want to make sure that's all. And I'm fine if you're okay with that.
I want honesty out of come on, you know me. I want to hear this stuff. If I'm the commissioner, I'm going to fine him, and I'm not going to suspend him.
Well, you could argue, actually, this makes for good TV and radio. You may actually want more of this.
Miller and Moulton. We'll talk a little USC with JP Shadrick on the other side. Glenn Davis to talk USA men's national team as well in the 8 o'clock hour on the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com. Miller and Moulton here for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
Mark, remember Nick Charles, Fred Hickman, the CNN Play of the Day?
Yeah, CNN did a nightly sports show. That was a while ago.
Yes, it was. Just work with me. Everyone liked the pod, the Play of the Day. So how about we have the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day?
Sounds good. Fun. Smooth. Like Clutch Vodka.
Listen weekday mornings for the Clutch Vodka Play of the Day.
That's Clutch with a K.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around and get it.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Danielson saying my impression sounded like a bad Joe Biden.
Your Brian Kelly impression there?
No,
Which one?
my Jared
Jerry
Jones
Jones?
impression.
Because you started doing Brian Kelly in a Southern accent there
Yes.
too. I don't know
That's
what
what-
exactly that was.
That's what I said to him. I said, come on, everybody knew I was channeling my inner Brian Kelly there. Come on. Tried to tell him Brian Kelly gave all of us who want to do bad impressions cover for the rest of this year. You can just go, well, you know.
You know, that is a dadgum good point right there.
If you suspend him, you put a great big banner saying, yes, come on. You just have to acknowledge, yes, horrendously blown call. I'm suspending the officials. You can't say the league is fixed. You can say it's incompetent, but you can't say it's fixed.
I like that. I mean, I like that he retweeted that. That to me.
Uh-huh. Listen, here's how you know it was so egregiously bad. We're not getting any flack from a Michigan fan. No, sir. I mean, Michigan fans just know, wow, did we get away with one there? I mean, that's it. You just have to go. Don't try to defend it, whatever. We have not gotten any grief from anyone associated with Michigan.
David, Andrew Martian just tweeted out listening to Sirius XM FC, and they said the ticketing app prior to the England game is malfunctioning in Qatar. Oh, no. I want this to be the worst World Cup. I want every disaster to happen.
Well, how about yesterday? The Ecuador fan chanting, we want our beer. We want our beer during the second half of the match.
Were they really? That's
yes.
awesome.
And by the way, they're selling a non-alcoholic beer. There is beer provided in the suites, which is funny.
Yes.
And most of the party areas around town are hotels. So they're indoors. So you can't see, and they're not going to let you walk the streets like it's Mardi Gras with a beer in your hand.
Correct.
So do you know that the head of the World Cup there talked for an hour before he took a question? An hour.
And condemned everybody and told them all how stupid they were and hypocrites that they were. That's what
an hour. And another thing.
Harry Kane. Oh, and we're underway.
Do they say kata or kata?
Well, however it is they want it pronounced, I would go with the other. I do have a mini bar, not nearly the amount of food that I had last week.
Did you call JP?
God damn it.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And we are nearly 2 minutes in to our final hour of Miller and Moulton in Lake City and surrounding areas. Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice, halfway home for those in the 239. Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Glenn Davis, who's covered many a World Cup for ESPN and Fox. He will join us in 35 minutes' time. The U.S. men's national team, 6 hours from now, getting their World Cup play underway, taking on Wales. We'll get a preview from Glenn Davis in about 35 minutes' time. JP Shadrick is kind enough to join us right now. Normally, when we bring JP on, it has something to do with the Jags since he's part of their radio network. The Jags were off this week. We just wanted to, get 8-10 minutes from JP because he happened to be out at the Rose Bowl broadcasting USC UCLA for Westwood One of the games of the weekend. You can follow JP on Twitter at JP Shadrick. JP, are you back in Jacksonville? How bad's the jet lag?
Oh, I'm fine. I will tell you the traffic in Jacksonville is much easier to handle than the traffic in Los Angeles. That was a different kind of reel, I think, in the traffic. It was my first time in the LA area ever. But yeah, I'm back. We're back. It's back to Jaguars football today in a little bit. But yeah, I'm happy to recap what was a great night at the Rose Bowl for sure.
It certainly was. Just since you've never been out there, just going into that stadium, just give us paint a picture of what Pasadena was like.
Well, I mean, it's everything that you've seen on television. I'm almost 41 in a few weeks, and I've seen it almost every New Year's Day, as everybody has, and you have it in your head, the mountains and the Arroyo Seco Canyon and the building and the Rose Bowl neon sign. And then you're driving into the place and you turn on Colorado and you go down the little hill through this neighborhood. And you're like, where's the stadium? Like, this is very nice. I mean, all of a sudden it pops out of nowhere. There it is. And you park right there and you walk in, you get your picture in front of the Rose Bowl sign. And, I mean, and you walk into the place and it's timeless. I mean, it's a perfect stadium, and it was a perfect stadium in 1922 when they opened it. Almost perfect because they finished out the end a few years later. But and then the mountains just paint the whole scene, and it was a perfect night, 60 degrees. It's bigger and better than I ever dreamed it would be. Just the scene itself. And I'll tell you this, guys. One of the first things I noticed, we're walking in from the parking lot, going to get the photo in front of the Rose Bowl sign. I look up, there's one of those airplanes dragging a banner behind it, and it was a banner promoting wine. And I'm like, this ain't Baton Rouge anymore. This is a little different out here in Pasadena.
JP Shadrick, who called USC UCLA for Westwood One Radio on Saturday night. You can follow JP on Twitter at JP Shadrick. Well, first off, not only was the surrounding beautiful, the game was tremendous, and I would argue the two best uniforms on the field at the same time in the sport. I think that's the prettiest looking game, all right, with the setting, and with UCLA in their home powder blues with gold, and USC in their road Trojan red with the yellow, pants and stripes. I just think it is a magnificent looking game even before they kick off. But let's talk USC. All right. When you watched USC come back and win, were you seeing one of the four best? Were you seeing a playoff team?
In my opinion, if they play like that in the next 2 weeks, there's no way they're out. I mean, with the quarterback playing as high of a level as he was, with the receivers standing out there and making great moves to get open. I mean, Addison is tough to cover. He had other guys doing it too, and they had a running game to go with it also. I mean, the running back had a big day and a big piece of what they were doing. And then Williams used his legs in key moments to move the sticks a couple times. That wasn't the primary option for him. He's throwing it around everywhere. I just seeing them in person, that offense is tough to stop when they're rolling. So it's up to them. I mean, they have to go perform like that again against Notre Dame this week at home at the Coliseum, and then in the Pac-12 title game. So they've got two big tests ahead still. But they're getting some horses back. They got Mario Williams back on the field Saturday. He dropped a big football that could have gone all the way to Inglewood, I said on the air, I think. He could have run all the way. It was wide open, but he dropped it. But they're really good. The defense, obviously, was giving it up a little bit in the third and fourth quarter. But when they needed to, they made a big stop, and a defensive lineman stepped back there and made the interception that sealed the game. And that's really what it was going to come down to in that second half. Which defense can really step up and make a stop in a key time? Both of them did, by the way, on the last possessions. UCLA finally made a stop, got the ball back, and then USC gets the interception to win it. So to answer your question, yeah, if they run the table like they did, if they're scoring like they do, that'll impress the committee enough. It should, at least, with a Heisman candidate quarterback, everything that goes with that in LA. They have to be a top 4 team if they finish it out.
The defense obviously isn't a top 14, but something about them, they keep finding a way to get turnovers. When you're calling the game, is it, I use a hockey analogy. They're kind of like an old Edmonton Oilers team that, hey, it's 5-5 going to the third. Okay, they can make a play. Is there something about that defense that they can still make plays in the fourth quarter?
They're going to give up 450 yards a game.
Right.
They're going to take away 4 times. Like, it's unbelievable, and that's what they are. They're an opportunistic defense. And if you lay it out there or throw it out there a little long or make a mistake, those guys in the back end, for the most part, can take it away. And they did that a few times. A couple of those were fumbles on Saturday's game. And that's part of Dorian Thompson-Robinson's game too, right? I mean, he's not a true quarterback growing up. He didn't start playing quarterback until like his last year of high school or last 2 years. So he kind of runs around. He carries it out there. He throws his body out on the line. He's getting contact. So he coughed it up, on a sack at one point, and nearly lost a snap on another one. But no, so that's part of his game. So it kind of, I think, fed into USC's defense a little bit. He's going to put the ball out there some. We've got to be able to take it away, and they did that 4 times.
JP Shadrick called USC UCLA on Westwood One Radio on Saturday. Now he goes back to his day job as part of the Jags radio network. Quick final question here. The Lions have put a little something together. They won 3 in a row. And in theory, now, if you're a Lions fan, you're like, listen, we're probably not going to make the playoffs, but we have a chance to accomplish something this year. Is that where the Jags are? They're 3-7. They got 7 left. Is it important to pull a little Detroit Lions here and let's accomplish something?
Yeah, I mean, Doug Peterson has said that, every goal they have at the start of the year is out in front of them. Now, is that coach speak? Sure, a little bit. Yeah, are they going to go run the table and beat the Titans twice and win the division 7-9, whatever it is this year, 8-9? No. But you got a quarterback who's here for a while. You got a coach who's here for a while. You got some receivers you think are going to be here for a minute. Since you're paying the heck out of them, go play. Go get better on offense, and start to figure out some things that maybe won't get you over the top this year. But, hey, in this situation, remember, week 16 last year, we had a really good run against Team X using this philosophy and this scheme against this defense. And then use that in a key moment later down the road next year. I think you're building for some of that right now, especially on the offensive side. The defense, they've got a lot to work on right now. There's some players out there, but they're giving up yardage. It's not going very well right now. I'm curious to see what they look like coming off a bye week self-scout, if you will, of what they've done and what they want to do moving ahead. But for the offense, go play. I mean, it's not over. They're not folding up the tent. It's not. You can go to Cancun in February, right? Like, what are you worried about that now? So I think they'll have good focus. Not worried about that with this Jags team, especially with Doug Peterson at the helm. I think they'll be ready to roll and compete in most of these games going down the stretch.
Hey, try not to be bored for the first part of this week after calling that game that you did on Saturday night, okay? Try to act like you're really interested.
Well, I appreciate that. And then at the back end of the week, I have Michigan, Ohio State as well. So it's going to be a busy week.
Wow. Wow. That Jags-Ravens game is going to seem thrilling on Sunday, isn't it?
Yeah, from the horseshoe back to the CIA Bank Field. But, hey, it's what it is, man. It's Sunday in the NFL. It's tough to get more exciting than that. We will on Saturday, but the next day will be fun as well.
Congratulations, JP. Safe travels.
Thanks, guys. Good to talk to you always.
JP Shadrick How about that? How he's doing
Rose
Ohio State,
Bowl to the
Michigan.
shoe.
Right. Wow. Good for him. He's paid his dues for 20 years. That's what we like to see in this business. Guy working his way up. Good
Two
deal.
pretty good uniforms on Saturday, too.
Yeah. Yeah. You could argue when all four schools wear what they're supposed to wear, you could argue they're the two best looking games before kickoff in the sport.
I'll put a Penn State Alabama bowl game in the mix. Sorry. That's just one in my head that sticks out there that I can watch that one as well.
You mean the no names on the jerseys, and we only we have the home and a road, and there is no third jersey. Don't even think about it.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct.
I like it. So JP Shadrick joining us here on Miller and Moulton. So I think it helps having the Heisman Trophy candidate a quarterback for USC, doesn't it? I mean, this is an opinion sport. Don't you want as much superfluous stuff on your side of the argument as you can get?
470 yards he threw for against UCLA. 470. That's just the throwing yards.
But Mark, it's a Pac-12 game. Don't you get 370 to start?
I think you start at 250, but I definitely see where you're going with that, David, and you're not wrong. You're not wrong, but it was still a hell of a performance, and it was a hell of a football game. A lot of fun to watch, and JP, obviously, getting a great opportunity to call that one, and we thank JP Shadrick for joining Miller and Moulton right here on the Florida Sports Network. We'll come back, have our play of the day an hour late because we completely blew it off in the 7 o'clock hour. We'll have that coming up. Glenn Davis, we'll talk men's national team as well. Miller and Moulton, we do thank you for listening right here on the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again.
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network. This goalie for Iran got smoked in the opening minutes. Got a head, something like
Today?
right now. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They're going to have to change goaltenders.
Oh, damn.
He was out for about 5 minutes. He played, and now he's laying down again on the pitch. So it looks like they're going to take him out.
Just against England, right?
Yeah. I mean, he had to get concussed. One of his own players headbutted him right in the face.
Oh, damn.
Going back, across, going back to the goal, and he went out to play it and just caught it right here.
Damn.
They've had a good 5-minute injury timeout on the field. And then they play. Now they're bringing the stretcher out for the goalie. He's laying back down, so I think they're taking him out.
I do love the soccer stretcher.
Oh, I love it.
It's like right out of a Bugs Bunny cartoon. It's
It really is. All right, Adam, and I know you do this in giggles, and I don't take much you say seriously. Realistically, if I put the Jags over under at 2.5 for the rest of the year, where would you go?
Wow, that's beautiful. 7 games left. Do they go 3-4, 2-5? That's magnificent, Mark.
They play the Texans. They play the Jets. They play the Lions.
They already lost to the Texans. So you got to figure they get payback, right?
They play the Titans twice.
Right. They play the
They've
Ravens,
got the Ravens,
this week.
the Cowboys. I'd go under.
And you're right. The Spits, they've lost, 7 or 8 in a row to the Texans? The Texans are to them what they are to the Colts.
No way they split with. No way the Jags split with the Titans.
I could see it.
Well, that is the last game of the year at home.
And I could see Tennessee having nothing to play for and mailing it in.
Right. Willis playing and
RCB, apparently OBJ this week is meeting with the Cowboys and the Giants. And a lot of people think it's down to those two. I don't see how the Giants can't win this because you would think they could offer them more years. Because they're clearly going to have a need at receiver next year. Clearly. Wow. Thank you, Mortimer.
Okay, Randolph, it's on. Now you're playing a team that you're not supposed to win against, and you lose one of your subs because your goalie gets knocked out in the first 10 minutes of the game.
Never mind, you have to deal with Hurricane. Well,
10 seconds.
For next year and beyond, he can get really good money. This year, my guess is he'll get low base and he'll get paid based on appearances.
Welcome back to Miller and Moulton, only on the Florida Sports Network.
"21 minutes past the hour. Miller and Moulton, Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Was a very interesting weekend. Bucks, Finns, and Jags didn't play in state, but obviously the big college teams all did, with most of them having disappointing performances with the exception of Florida State.
Did they all play? I mean, they all showed up. They put uniforms on. Can we really say the Gators play football?
Well, I thought I saw it on television, so I'm counting it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep. And I will say, another inspired effort from South Florida since they got rid of their head coach. They lost a close one on the road. They're still winless in conference, but even they probably gave Mark, of the big five in state, they probably gave the second best performance.
Florida State, obviously, with the best performance. They played Louisiana and just destroyed them from the word go.
Yeah, had that sucker covered too pretty early. It was just a matter of where they're going to hold it. And that line's up to 9.5, by the way, against the Gators Friday night. The line, which was a month or so ago at 3.5 and a week ago was at 7, is now at 9.5, which now becomes a pressure spot for the Noles. Got to win. Expected to win. You've won 4 in a row here. It's a rivalry game. Crazy blank happens.
That's a big number.
It is.
That's a lot of confidence in a team that is just learning how to win.
I will say, though, analytically, they're like top 15 in the country on both sides of the ball right now. This is the best Florida State's played football in 7 years, what they're doing in the last 4 weeks. This is a team. You're like, Florida State fans are like, can we keep this group together, add some depth to it, and start next year already? I think we can win this ACC with this team if we could just pick up where we left off. So that's how well they're playing. But can they beat their most hated rival? Because otherwise all this good stuff they're doing doesn't mean squat.
Well, and you're right, because it's a 4-week stretch against teams that aren't very good. They caught Syracuse as they're as banged up as they're going to be,
right,
and not nearly the team that started the season. Miami's a mess, and they played, Georgia Tech and Louisiana there. So for 4 games, they've looked really good. They haven't played anybody in those 4 games. Hell, I don't know if they're playing anybody Friday night, because what showed up Saturday in Nashville, what, did the cold get them? What in the hell was that?
Yeah, that's not the team that's going to show up in Tallahassee Friday night.
I understand that.
But yeah, I mean, obviously Vanderbilt motivated coming off a big road win. They hadn't had one of those in 3 years. And basically Vanderbilt's going through what the Lions are going through right now. They feel they've got something to play for. They're trying to prove something to themselves and everybody else. And some of their opponents right now may not be taking them seriously. Well, that's on them. But it's a quick week this week, short week. We got games Thursday, got games Friday. It's not that far away.
Oh, I know.
And the World Cup got underway yesterday, and the U.S. plays in 5.5 hours here?
2:00, I think their start is.
What did you say? We already have the stretcher out? The Bugs Bunny stretcher is out in the World Cup?
The stretcher was out. This was an actual injury, though. The Iranian goaltender crashed into one of the Iranian defenders, and the defender headbutted him right in the face. And they were both going, full speed after a ball. And there's about 5 minutes of downtime. He came back in the game and couldn't go. So they've made a goaltender change. 0-0 between Iran and England.
With already about 8 minutes of stoppage time.
It's going to be a long first half. That's all I know.
We're going to risk whether or not we get this sucker in 2 hours.
It is my wife's biggest pet peeve in sport is the stoppage time. We can't we can't stop the clock. Drives are nuts. Oh, how many more minutes are we going to play? We're going to play 3 more minutes, or we're going to play 4 more minutes. Drives her batty.
Hold on. Of all the messed up stuff that's in sports, soccer stoppage time is her hill that she wants to die on.
It is.
I have to admit, I enjoy the whole half trying to go, ooh, are they going to add this in? Is this an extra minute now? Here's my thing also. They score and they celebrate for a minute. I've always wondered, do they add that minute on? Does that count?
Again, why she has this pet peeve, because no one can seem to figure it out.
Listen, for somebody who's a gymnastics fan, and is there scoring that's more subjective than gymnastics. Okay, that, figure skating, and the college football playoff committee. I mean, honestly. And she loves her ice skating and her gymnastics that much, and she has a problem with soccer stoppage time. Now, I know you're not going to bring this up to her, but if I ever get in the same living room with her again, we're going there.
Love it. I love it. It'll be a clutch moment, just like we had some clutch moments over the weekend, Felipe. Of all of the clutch moments, and that's clutch with a K, Clutch Vodka, which did you decide upon?
I have never rooted for the Patriots more in my entire life, other than yesterday.
Marcus Jones returning for the Pats despite an earlier ankle injury. He waits on the right hash mark of the 25. The snap, waist high, pressure-free punt, and it's a good one, forcing Jones to backpedal right side at the 16. Stabs left, ran it right down the sideline to the 40, to the 50, to the left side to the 45, beats the punter to the 35-30. Marcus Jones down the middle to the 10, into the end zone. Touchdown! No flag! Touchdown! Patriots! Way to call timeout! Way to play the clock!
Love the color guy going bananas.
Yeah, that's Marcus Jones. Go ahead, touchdown with 8 seconds left to beat the Jets in Foxborough. Big for the Dolphins.
The Jets, by the way, in the second half had 2. I repeat, 2 yards of offense.
They had 6 first downs for the game.
They had 104 total yards. And afterwards said they don't have an issue at quarterback. Which is funny because the wide receivers after the game went ballistic.
Yes, they did.
About, we've got issues. We've got problems. And it starts in practice. And they were calling out the coaches and anybody else you think may play on the offensive side that's guilty.
Zach Wilson doesn't seem to think there's any issues.
No. Not a problem at all. Was asked, by the way, do you owe your defense an apology? He said no.
Scored 3 points.
Right. Which is
funny.
funny.
You owe your fans an apology. You owe everybody an apology from that performance. Holy Toledo.
Yeah. By the way, not pressured. Not pressured. He was 5 of 16 throwing the ball. Under no pressure. 5 of 16. I don't know. I think they may have an issue at quarterback. You?
They have an issue with that whole offense, and it starts at quarterback, obviously. And don't know if this guy can play.
Right. But do you sacrifice the whole damn team trying to find out? I mean, Joe Flacco led you to win off the bench earlier this year. Mike White just played 5 quarters for you. All right. Looked like Tua. By the way, 2022 Tua. While he was playing him. I mean, you sure you're going to sacrifice this whole season because your ego's out of shape because you drafted this guy 2nd overall?
That's our Clutch Vodka play of the day. Clutch Vodka. Go to clutchspirits.com. Hashtag Clutch Spirits. When you post your drinks, go to Total Wine to buy your Clutch Vodka. Smoothest vodka you ever had. Trust me on that one, and I've had a few of them. Miller and Moulton. We will switch gears and talk to U.S. men's national team with Glenn Davis. He is next right here on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Spitz, where you been? We talked about that 2 weeks ago.
We did interviews on it, Spitz. We didn't just talk about it. We interviewed 2 different guests on it. We had J.P. Peterson, who's the one that broke the story, and we had Matt Baker on it.
He was at a USF men's basketball game last week, and there wasn't a big crowd there. But when they saw him, they gave him a standing ovation.
Oh, England scored.
Harry Kane.
He didn't score. Bellingham.
Is that a third line grinder there?
Bellingham.
Great.
Not in this country, it's not. One 0.
Mm-hmm.
What minute we in?
37th minute, rather.
But of course, it's really only like the 30th minute, right? Because they're going to have to make up so much time.
So Iran's in all red with white numerals. England is in white tops with blue. And I think those are blue shorts. Yeah, dark blue shorts. Because, they're red and white.
Right.
I've called Glenn twice. He's not answering.
Is there a message?
He retweeted it.
Yeah. Now I
Leaving
gotta
a
see.
voicemail. I'm calling back. We got 10 seconds. I'm going to call him one more time.
Thanks for listening. And now, more of Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
22 minutes before the hour. Final segment for those in Lake City and surrounding areas. Tampa, St. Pete, Port Charlotte to Venice. The bonus hour begins at the top of the hour for those in Southwest Florida. Miller and Moulton. Florida Sports Network. FloridaSportsNetwork.com. World Cup got underway yesterday. Ecuador beat the host nation. Is it Qatar or Qatar? What are we going with?
Whichever one you want.
2-0. And England has just scored against Iran. They're up 1-0 in the first half. But the U.S. men's national team gets underway in a little more than 5 hours' time. Glenn Davis played professionally, called 6 World Cups on ESPN and Fox, is host of the show Soccer Matters on ESPN Radio in both Houston and Austin. You can follow him on both Twitter and Instagram at Glenn Davis Sock, SOC. Glenn Davis, SOC. Glenn, David, and Mark, thanks for doing this once again. Are you excited about the U.S. and Wales?
Absolutely, David. Mark, good morning. Excited about the World Cup in general, but yes, of course, excited about the U.S. and Wales. And, I was just listening to the broadcaster with England, who you mentioned is up on Iran, and Landon Donovan had mentioned, that 84% of the teams that get a win in their opening group match generally advance. So we're hoping for that against Wales, but the margins are going to be slim in these games.
Well, in Wales, does Wales have the most elite scorer in this game? I know the U.S. men's national team is the best team we've had in quite a while, but the best scorer is playing for the opposition, right?
Well, you got a very dangerous guy in Gareth Bale who has his penchant of scoring big goals in big games. He did it for Real Madrid in the Champions League. He just did it in Major League Soccer for LAFC in the MLS Cup final. He's obviously the marquee face, but they've also got a very good older goalkeeper, Wayne Hennessy, who played unbelievable. I mean, lights out against Ukraine in the playoff game to get to the World Cup. Ukraine actually outplayed Wales, but their goalkeeper won him that game. Daniel James, they got a lot of guys that have played in the Premier League, so there will be some familiarity from that standpoint.
Glenn, as someone who played professionally and has broadcast a half a dozen World Cups, your thoughts on one team with experience, one team maybe with a little more talent, but they've got a lot of youth. Which would you rather bring to the dance?
Ooh, which would I rather bring? I'd rather bring a blend of both, but quite frankly, I think sometimes youth can be naive and maybe don't understand the pressure of what I can't even talk about because I never played in the World Cup. So I can only imagine what the pinnacle is like here and what the pressure is like. And maybe it just rolls off their backs. But look, these are not newbies. I mean, these are kids that have all played in front of 60, 70,000 people, right? Because they're on teams like Juventus and Barcelona and Chelsea and Leeds. Are playing regularly in the Premier League. So I don't think they're going to be overawed. I surely hope they aren't, but they have been in environments with big crowds. Now, just the moniker of you're playing in a World Cup, which is the ultimate. It's sacred grounds. I don't know what that may potentially do to them or not do to them.
How different is officiating in a World Cup versus Premier League or any other league, any other top league? Is it officiated different? Do they let them get away with a little bit more?
That's an interesting question, because the definition of a foul in different parts of the world by referees are very, very different in a lot of subtle ways. So that is something interesting to think about when you think about which country the referee is from. There is no such thing as much as we want as a standardized way of refereeing such a unique and difficult game, which has probably the most difficult rule in all of sports to understand for a lot of people, which is offside.
And we've already seen a controversial offside early in this World Cup. We're talking with Glenn Davis. He played professionally. He's broadcast a half a dozen World Cups for ESPN and Fox. He hosts Soccer Matters on ESPN Radio in both Houston and Austin, Texas. Follow him on Twitter and Instagram, Glenn with 2 N's, Glenn Davis Sock, S-O-C, Glenn Davis, S-O-C. We talked to you the morning after this men's national team was selected. That was a little less than 2 weeks ago. Now that you've had a chance to really pour it over and let it all sink in, do you like the makeup of this group? Or is this a group that was put together with the thought being, this group's going to be great when we're hosting this sucker in 4 years?
So Saka has just scored. So it's England 2-0 now over Iran. Look, I don't think there was a few areas that were maybe a surprise, but they were also more likely players that aren't going to get to play as much, right, at the back end of the roster. So, for those that are really digging deep into this, I think the biggest issues, who's going to play as a center back today next to Weston McKennie? It's likely going to be Tim Ream, who plays for Fulham in the Premier League. Who's going to play right back? Because apparently Serginho Dest, who plays at Milan in Italy, is injured. So maybe that's either DeAndre Yedlin or Joe Scally. So, these are some of the big question marks coming into this, but I think there's just an abundance of young talent that are getting this amazing experience in top European leagues. It's never happened for us as a national team. It's unprecedented. I remember the time when people were just trying to get over and play in Europe. And I remember the time I got sent there just to train with Sheffield United in England, without really any notion of actually making a team, because Americans weren't playing over there. So it's a remarkably different time. They're young, they're talented. They got a great opportunity here to get out of this group. And then the next World Cup's going to be held in the United States. So to bank all this experience with guys that are 21, 22, 23, 19, pretty remarkable opportunity.
What do you want to see in the first, 15, 20 minutes as we've all been watching this England and Iran game? England settled down a little bit and was able to take a lead. When you look at the U.S. team today, what do you want to see the first 15, 20 minutes that would make you go, all right, they've settled in nicely?
Yeah, just confidence, sharpness technically on the ball, no nervousness. I mean, we saw Qatar just overwhelmed by the pressure of this thing against Ecuador. They never even got going, and they probably are not going to win a game. But I just think confidence, technically sharpness, and just living up to the moment like you've been there.
I guess England's now up 3-0 on Iran. Is Iran this bad? Because I thought that, England, the class of the group, but I thought that the rest of the group was all within the area code of each other, Glenn, in terms of world rankings.
Well, this is a great start for England to have scored 3 goals here in the first half and just lifting confidence. It's going to give a manager a lot of opportunity to think about how he's going to use his substitutions and rest people, because you're playing 3 games in 10 days. So this is a fantastic start for England.
When you talk about the rest in the substitutions, because most of us just look at, when we started talking about this roster, how deep will the U.S. go in group? How many players will play?
I think it depends on how well they're playing, but I do also think we have to remember that, there is 3 games in a very short amount of time. I mean, they're going to play this very England that's destroying Iran right now. on Friday, right? The day after Thanksgiving. So it's all coming quick and fast. And this is the first World Cup ever where, obviously you can use 5 substitutions. The last World Cup in Russia, it was only 3. So this one, it's 5. So, that is a different thing that managers have to think about and can utilize as an advantage.
I like it, by the way. I like the fact that you can, some nations are deep, and I like the fact also maybe guys who don't have 90 plus minutes in them, but they can go hard for 45 or 60. I like the more liberal substitution rules. Do you?
I think yes and no. I mean, it's obviously very different to your point. And I think it may create like a 55 to 60 minute player, right? Because a lot of times changes will occur at 60, 65 in and around that minute mark. Not always. Sometimes you can bring 3 players on, right? So I think it creates the 60-minute player in a pressing game where a manager can say, hey, look, I want you to go out there 45 plus 60 and you're pushing, I want you to let it all hang out and then we'll bring somebody else on. Whereas before, you had to pace yourself. You might've thought about the type of running you did, how much of it you did, the economy of it. A lot of different things would occur with only 3 substitutions, and 3 substitutions and somebody gets hurt, you're down to 2, right? So just very, very different.
All right, Glenn, final question. USA and Wales coming up in a little more than 5 hours. This is the money match of the group, isn't it? Like, in theory, this is the one. If the U.S. wins, in theory, they should beat Iran. And then the result against England, it's for where they're going to be seated. I mean, this is the pressure match, right? They lose this match, they gotta beat England Friday. I mean, this seems to be the money match of the group for the U.S. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I don't disagree. And let's not forget, Wales hasn't been to a World Cup for a long time. So they want this just as bad as anybody else, right? I mean, we're all sitting here from the U.S. perspective, but I mean, they're thinking the exact same thing. In order to get out of this group, we need to get a result here in the first game, and then we've got Iran, and then we take our chances with England, who right now are obviously the class of the group and are coming into this as the favorites of the group. So no question about it. This is a huge one today at 1:00 for the United States.
How does the U.S. match up? Give us the tail of the tape, if you will. The U.S. and Wales.
Well, I mean, the thing I like about the United States for me is the big piece you got to look at is the engine room of this team, this midfield. It's highly athletic. It's guys that have played at high levels. It's Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa, who plays in Spain's La Liga. There was tremendous youth there. There's tremendous energy there. If that group is playing well, they're just a great shield for the back 4. They're also the fulcrum to get into attack. They can be very, very disruptive. So I think that's an area of the field I'm looking at. If Weston McKennie can't play and is a little bit banged up, then I think Brendan Aronson gets in there at the top of that midfield. So, that's the big piece that I'm looking for. If that piece is in motion, playing well, clicking, hitting all cylinders, then I think you get a good game out of the U.S.
He's Glenn Davis. Played professionally, called 6 World Cups for ESPN and Fox. His show is Soccer Matters on ESPN Radio in Houston and Austin. You can follow him on Twitter and Instagram. Glenn Davis SOC. Glenn Davis SOC. Glenn, we've been appreciative in past years. We're very appreciative you made time for us during this busy World Cup week. Happy Thanksgiving, and hopefully we can talk to you Friday.
Hey, same to you guys. And yes, absolutely. And have a great Thanksgiving and enjoy the World Cup like I'm going to.
We are 5 hours and 9 minutes. Team USA against Wales. Has Harry Kane scored?
No, he has not. They have not needed him. They have been dominating on the pitch. As the stoppage time thing, 14 minutes of stoppage time in the first half.
Oh my!
I told you the goalie went down. I mean, they had an actual injury. I've never seen anything. I've seen 7.
Oh, yeah.
I think I've seen 8 before. I've never seen double digits.
That's a first for me, too.
Couldn't just stop the clock, could you? You couldn't just stop the damn clock. Blow the whistle, and you stop the clock.
During the
It's
commercial,
like 45 minutes, you see?
Right. During the commercial break, do you want to aggravate your wife and just text her and go, hey, just so you know, we have 14 minutes of stoppage time in the second match of the World Cup?
Not on your life.
Oh, come on. Can I do it?
Morning.
Can I do it?
You can do it. I'll let you do it.
Good.
Monday morning, you want me to send that text, for crying out loud? Got to work till 6 o'clock tonight. You want me to do that? I mean, I've got an anniversary coming up in 3 days, for crying out loud. I am not sending that text.
For goodness sakes, that's a segment. Okay, their stoppage time is a segment. For goodness sakes.
And a long one at that.
Right. Glenn Davis, kind enough to join us. He is scheduled to join us Friday. We obviously, with no Thursday show, we've moved some Thursday guests to Wednesday, some to Friday. We're going to be jam-packed the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, a best of Miller and Moulton on Thanksgiving.
But we are working on Black Friday.
Yes.
Miller and Moulton doing a show.
Yes.
On International Week on the program. David in Mexico City today.
Right. Where they've hosted an Olympics, and they're going to be hosting a couple of World Cup matches next year. It's a North American venture, Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. Miller and Moulton. The bonus hours next.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
Golfers, are you bored of the same old driving range warm-up routine that's not getting you the results that you want on the course? Power up your golf swing by adding resistance bands to your range sessions with the Orange Whip Golf's Power Strap Kit. Featuring band attachments to your feet and hips, Power Strap resistance training will boost club head speed, increase power, improve flexibility, all with just a few swings. Buy a Power Strap Kit today. Go to orangewhipgolf.com and use code Miller10 to receive an additional 10% off the already great price of $119.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
let's see, 2,500.
What'd you have to leave? What was your incidental? 3,000 pesos.
So 6,000 pesos, which is $300.
Okay, so 6,000 pesos. So you go over that. No, it'll be close.
It's a 20-to-1 ratio on pesos. Okay, so that's 2,500 is only, you know what? That's $125, right?
Yeah.
Under. There was a significant amount of complimentary water in the room. I think I only had to pay for one, maybe two waters.
Here's the key. You got to leave the room at some point today just so they can service the room so you can get more waters.
Well, and then I'm done, though. Remember, tomorrow
that's
show's
right.
from
You're
Dallas.
out. Yeah,
This
you're
is
out.
it. So no. See, Mello, whereas the other room was a 2-night stay, technically this is a 2-night reservation, but I mean, I'm going to go downstairs, do breakfast, come up, nap, leave. So no, we're going under. 2 waters, 2 sodas, and 3 things to eat. Bars, if you will, of some kind. I'm going under. Also, the prices, from what I can figure, modest. At least I think. My math. For the record, at the Four Seasons in Philadelphia, if that was the over-under, it was over. For the 2-day stay. And that's with 6 complimentary 8-ounce bottles of water being sent to the room.
I will say these guys look gassed out there right now playing 14, but they're just trying to play keep away to get to halftime right now.
England or Iran?
England. Oh, Iran's they're atrocious.
Johnny Mac, I did. My wife said, don't use the tap water. Yeah, whatever. But when I saw the bottled water on the bathroom counter, I went, I think that's a clue. No snack package. I'll just plan better next time. I'll stop at like a Wawa or, when I go to visit my mom, there's a grocery store right there. I'll grab stuff and bring it back to the room. Do you know what I hate, though? The upper end hotels. There's no room in the fridge for you to bring stuff.
Take the other stuff out.
I understand, but then you have to put it back because
Yep.
and the right spot, or else they charge you. And
yep.
So
back in the day, and I don't know if it's still, you used to be able to get a refrigerator brought to your room for nothing.
Huh.
At worst, they'll charge you for it. You can always ask. When I traveled a lot, the first thing I did, is there any way I could get a refrigerator to my room? Sometimes no, sometimes yes.
20 seconds.
Started the Thanksgiving cooking yesterday, David.
Oh, boy.
Well, I made homemade ice cream for the pecan and apple pies.
Here we go.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network. And now, here's Mark Miller and David Moulton.
And the bonus hour is international as well, as I come to you from Mexico City, site of Monday Night Football. I haven't played here in at least 3 years. Niners, Cardinals, San Francisco, an 8-point favorite. So much for an Arizona Cardinals home game. Although, Mark, Arizona's got to be happy that they're playing a home game, not at home. Have you checked out their record at home? Not just this year, but going back to when they were 7-0 last year and a half. Arizona's lousy at home.
And they're going to be without Kyler Murray tonight. So that point spread may be looking better and better by the minute.
Well, it depends on who you talk to. There are a few people that because isn't Colt McCoy the backup?
He is.
He played really well last week. Really well. There are some people that are like, maybe this could be kind of Kyler watching, and this is how you play the position. Because it's not like Colt's a big guy. Colt barely scratches 6 feet too. I don't mean 6 feet 2 inches. I mean 6 feet as well. I mean, Colt, 11 plus years in the league? I mean, kind of throwing it when you're supposed to, where you're supposed to. I think there's a few people with Arizona that are okay with Colt McCoy playing tonight, if you know what I mean.
Apparently, there are a few people in the Jets locker room, a couple of the people that you and I both follow on Twitter saying early morning reports are the Jets defense not very happy with their quarterback's comments. He has nothing to apologize for.
Right.
Nothing to apologize. David, we got this tweet, or this text, rather, I should say. I apologize. We got this text. And what was the number of yards that the Jets had in the second half?
Mark, you can count them on one hand. That would be 2.
The Jets' second half offense equates to moving 2.7 inches per play. I'm going to repeat that. The Jets' second half offense equates to moving 2.7 inches per play.
Right. And I understand what the young quarterback, in a way, was saying when he was asked. He doesn't want to acknowledge weakness on his part. If he says, hey, we really owe the defense an apology, that's coming out and saying just how badly you sucked. Yeah, sometimes you have to do it. Remember the scene 2 games ago, the Titans in Kansas City, and Malik Willis was the quarterback, and they were horrible on offense. I mean, just horrible. He's not an NFL quarterback at this time. They couldn't complete a pass. They had like 2 first downs the whole second half in overtime. I mean, it was a joke. And after the game in the locker room, and the defense played it just as well as you can play and lose against Mahomes and the Chiefs. Derrick Henry, remember the scene? Shaking the hand of every defensive player on the team and basically thanking them for the effort. Not apologizing, but thanking them for the effort and looking every player in the eye like, we know we let you down. And then you have Zach Wilson. We don't have anything to apologize for.
And it was almost indignant how he said it, and that's more of the problem.
Really?
6 first
104
downs,
yards?
3 points, 104 yards.
2 yards in the second half. Huh? You don't have anything to apologize for. Yeah, actually, you do. You guys stunk. You were horrible. The beat writer does the grades the day after when we're going to grade the offense, the defense, the special teams. I mean, you get an F. I mean, I know Belichick can coach, and yeah, they're a pretty good defensive team. You do know the Bears played them at the same field and ran for 247. If you take the quarterback out of the equation, they ran for 164. I mean, you can move the ball on this team. Well, most teams can.
Most teams. One of them is not the New York Jets.
Right.
And I'm just trying to figure out what happens. The Jets, the Giants, and a lot of these teams off to good starts because there doesn't seem to be anyone in a position to get things ramped up and going. I mean, there is such a dividing line between the haves and the have-nots in the NFL right now, David, that you got the Bengals that are starting to pick things up. That's the team I probably put most of my – if I were to put my eggs in one basket, they would all go in that one right now.
Well, Mark, so far we're looking good. 2 weeks ago, you asked this question. You put us both on the spot. And your answer was Cincinnati, the team that right now is on the outside looking in, needs to pick up at least a game, if not a game and a half or more, to get in the playoffs. And you said, yeah, I'm going to put my $20 on the Bengals. I think Joe and company are going to get them there. And I said Washington. And I did not expect them to go into Philly and win. I thought they were going to lose that game, but then win 3 or 4 immediately after it. And now that they went in and won and then followed it up by taking care of business against Houston, they host Atlanta. They're 6-5. And they're going to host that game, Mark, knowing that the Giants lost Thursday at Dallas. And the Giants are 7-4 now. And they're going to look at one another and go, you know, we beat Atlanta. We're 7-5. And we play these suckers our next 2 games. We play them, week off, play them again. By the way, they get us twice and Philadelphia in between while we're off. We can be ahead of these guys in the standings with a month left in the season.
Well, it's why I still think that, the Chargers obviously at 5-5 are still in it, but you look at the Jets right now, 6-4, who are a playoff team at this moment. What they showed is that there are no guarantees. They got to play the Bears, yet the Vikings. They've got the Bills. They've got the Dolphins. They go to Seattle.
Well, final game of the regular season, Jets at Dolphins. We circled the Dolphins at Chargers game in early December as a key game. We circled that sucker when the schedule came out in May. We said, winner's going to make the playoffs, loser's going to stay home. Dolphins at Chargers. Right now, it's looking like an absolute must for LA. But even if the Dolphins' schedule gets the better of them here, don't you think worst case scenario for the Dolphins, they're going to be hosting the Jets that final weekend of the regular season going, if we win, we're in.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, David.
In a worst case scenario, because the Dolphins should take care of business this week and get to 8-3. And unless they get swept on the 3-game road trip,
which they could. It's at San Francisco, at the Chargers, at the Bills. There's nothing easy about this road trip.
But if they go 1-2 even, now they're 9-5. And then the 3-game finale, not easy. Host the Packers at New England, host the Jets. Let's just say they beat Green Bay, lose to New England. What are they? They're 10-6, hosting the Jets. That right now would be, is that worst case scenario for the Dolphins?
Yes. And I believe at that point they're going to probably be in anyhow. I really do.
Okay, now remember, they will have lost to Cincinnati in a battle for maybe a wild card spot. And we don't know if they will have beaten the Chargers or not. And if they've lost at New England, like we think, they will have split with the Patriots, and they're wrestling for what spot in the division are they? Are they going to be a second-place team or a third-place team? So you could see where Jets at Dolphins could be for both. Win and you're in, lose and you're done. We hope for the Dolphins that's not the case. They're already in. They're playing for better seeding, and who knows, maybe even playing for the East. Holy mackerel. Can't believe I said that out loud.
Well, I think it has to be said out loud. Because
Sure.
The
Now,
Bills have not proven they can win close games. It has nothing to do with Miami as much as it has to do with Buffalo right now, David.
I will say, Dolphins and Bills are tied, and I know the Dolphins beat them head-to-head, but if you're Buffalo, the whole division has to come to you. You host every team. They've played everybody. They've played the Jets and the Dolphins on the road. They have to play twice against New England, but now the Jets and Dolphins have to come to them. I think bottom line, the Bills have no excuses at all. They don't win the East. Quite frankly, they're not who we thought they were.
But this playoff thing's starting to get decided a little. The picture's becoming a little more clear.
Yeah.
And to me, the Jets are fading very quickly. And not just because of yesterday. But yesterday certainly emphasized where their woes are.
And now some big games that have already been played that you look at. Dolphins losing head-to-head to Cincinnati. Does that loom really large? The Dolphins-Chargers game coming up in a couple weeks. Is that as big as we thought it would be? The Giants having lost in Seattle. And for what it's worth, they've already lost to the Vikings. Okay? But oh, I'm sorry. The Dolphins lost to the Vikings. Giants have to play Minnesota later. But the Giants have lost to Seattle. So you could see where some head-to-head tiebreakers, if we think San Francisco is going to overtake Seattle and Seattle's battling for a wild card, if Seattle and the Giants are tied, well, Seattle goes.
So just a little bit of the playoff scenarios on both sides right now. As well, I thought the pitcher was coming in a little bit more clearly. David just went back and grabbed the vertical and horizontal knob and spun them just to make sure everybody understands how convoluted it can be with some of the things he's drawn out. I just think we learned a lot about teams yesterday. To me, the Jets loss, the infighting after, those are not good signs when you're this far into the season. And I think you'll look back at this weekend as the doom of the Jets. I don't even think we need to worry about the New York Jets as a playoff team.
Second-year head coach and Robert Saleh. This is quite a situation in his lap right now. How he handles this could determine not just this year, it could determine his tenure as Jets coach.
Could not agree with you more, David. 100%. Miller and Moulton, thank you so much for listening. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when all 25 minutes away on the Florida Sports Network.
David Moulton for Napa, Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa filters for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters. Napa has a filter for almost anything on earth that moves, whether it's motorcycles, foreign and domestic cars, vans, SUVs, earth-moving equipment. You get the idea. Napa Auto Parts, Napa filters. Insist on them for your vehicles, or if you're a do-it-yourselfer, only buy Napa filters.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're going to have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You are listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Did any of you happen to see how the Hawks beat the Raptors yesterday?
No.
It was some of the best play calling I've ever seen in my entire life.
David, Felipe's wondering if we caught how the Hawks beat the Raptors yesterday. I missed it. I'm sure you're right on top of that.
No, I have to acknowledge I missed that.
If you encounter it, just check it out. It's pretty awesome. I even retweeted it.
They didn't play yesterday.
Or was that Saturday?
You were just the one that said it was so amazing.
It was Saturday. My bad.
Mm-hmm. God, I wonder how I could have missed that. Okay, so really funny. And by funny, really weird. They played like nearly 60 minutes in the first half because of all the stoppage time. When they start the second half, they start it from 45 minutes. Yeah, Tyler is out tonight.
I would take the points, by the way.
Oh, Harry Kane mugged from behind. Oh, the agony, a yellow card. Get up, for Christ's sake.
Oh, is Kane down on the ground?
Yes. All right, Harry Kane's back from the dead. Now we got the free kick. Yeah, by the way, they told him they're going to yellow card him if they wore those One Love bands.
Yeah, I know. There's somebody from the U.S. that I guess is going to do it.
Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
21 minutes past the hour. Bonus hour of Miller and Moulton here on the Florida Sports Network, floridasportsnetwork.com. Thanks so much for being with us. Our remaining moments, me live from Mexico City. I'll be back in the States tomorrow. I'll be broadcasting from Dallas. That's as far as I can get back in the States by 6 a.m. Have to fly home after the show. So hopefully I'm here and ready to go for 6 a.m. Should be. I think we'll land about an hour and a half before before we have to be on the air.
All I know is that my guess is coming in. Now, I've never traveled to Mexico, so I have no idea. But I was lucky enough one time, left the country on a plane, on a private plane, and came back into the States in a private plane. Now, I had my family with me, and we were coming from the Bahamas. And they didn't even check the suitcases. I mean, they sent them through the machine. They asked if we had anything to declare, and I actually had 3 Bahamian beers left because we all had a beer on the plane, and the flight wasn't long enough for 2, if you know what I mean. We all had a beer. I'm like, there's 3 beers. There happened to be 3 customs agents there, and one guy looked, he pointed to himself. He went 1, 2, 3. The same way, and gave us the beer back and said, "Have a nice day." But I was stunned at the ease of coming back into the country at a private terminal versus coming in a commercial terminal. So I will be curious to see if you have a similar experience.
And it was
tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it was rigorous coming in on a private plane. It was at a different airport. It was in Toluca, which is about 45 miles away from Mexico City. And it was rigorous. It was like a 3-step process. It took a while. Took nearly an hour and a half. So
I think it'll be 13 minutes coming back.
Hope so. I know we'll be getting there in the middle of the night. It'll be after midnight local time. I don't know what security is like. A private plane leaving the country.
Oh, they'll just shoo you off. They won't ever care when you're leaving the country. They only care when you're coming.
Right. So that's the hope. That is the hope. But should land in enough time. I had to throw Troy's name around for the show, Mark.
Were you uncomfortable doing that?
Yes, until I realized that I wasn't going to be able to get on the air tomorrow unless I did it.
Does he know you threw his name around?
No. No.
Are you going to tell him?
Yeah, sure. Once we're in the air, when we're leaving the country.
I would make sure you're.
Yep. I'm going to let him. Yeah. And we'll be higher than that. I'm going to let him know that, listen, if by chance somebody contacts you, apparently this private aviation place off of Love Field, in which if you're like, he has his own plane, so he's a member. And I guess if you're a member, they have an office and they have a room where you could conduct business meetings and what have you. And apparently if you're a member, you can use what they have. And so once I threw his name around, they said, "Oh, well, if you're a guest of, Mr. Aikman, since he's a member, you get to use our conference room." So Miller and Moulton tomorrow, live from Love Field in Dallas, will be sponsored by Troy Aikman.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for throwing the name around because I don't know. I would have been nervous doing it. Felipe would have had no problem doing it. Any producers love to throw names around.
Right. I was asking, and I could tell from the look on her face that I was not going to get a positive response. And I said, well, I'm a guest of Mr. Aikman's. And Mark, this just in. I don't know if I've pointed it out over these last few years. If you mention his name in Dallas, it goes a long way. Yes, long way. And every year they get further and further away from the success that group has. It seems as if he becomes a bigger deal.
But the success they had yesterday will have Dallas all fired up for Dak. One of his 2 best performances, probably his best performance of the year, had a lofty quarterback rating, and the overreaction of the day will be the Dallas Cowboys because even Jera said that team looks like a Super Bowl contender. Right. And that will be the question asked of every talking head today in the sports media world. Are the Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl contenders? And they have to be in the East because I don't think there's a clear-cut dominant team after we watched the Eagles lose to the Commanders a couple of weeks ago and fight for their lives against the Colts.
Well, think about it. They just, humiliated the team with the second best record in the conference. I mean, yeah, that makes you if this was boxing, Mark, the Vikings were the number one ranked contender in the WBC, whether you thought they were or not. They had won enough matches. They were the number one contender. Well, the number 4 contender, who everybody thinks has a hell of a punch and might be the best challenger to the champion, they just showed up and knocked out the number 1 contender in his hometown.
Did they ever? Great performance on both sides of the ball. As we talked about earlier, they did this crazy thing in the game. They decided to be a run-dominant football team.
Unbelievable.
With 2 good running backs and a good offensive line for run blocking.
It's amazing. They won 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. They gave Emmitt Smith the ball. He was the centerpiece of the offense. And then when they have had their best teams in the last 20 plus years, they were all hand the ball off first, throw it second. Wow. So you mean to tell me they ran the ball and then threw off a play action? Huh. Behind a defense that can get pressure on the quarterback and force turnovers. Sounds like a winning formula.
Don't worry, they'll do everything they can do to get Odell Beckham and try to change the narrative so they can throw the ball a little bit more as we get towards the end of the season, David.
Well, now you're hitting me where I live here. I love me the diva wide receiver. I love
you
OBJ.
do.
I love OBJ. Giants need him more. The word is he's meeting with both the Giants and Cowboys this week.
Look, and I know he already has the ring. Is he chasing another ring, or is it going to simply be the multi-year deal? Because if he's just going to play for the rest of this year, Dallas makes more sense. They have a better shot to go deeper and further in the postseason, and there's no arguments on that. Does he want multiple years now, and the Giants have the ability and the money that I don't think Dallas could match?
Correct. I think the only way the Giants can get him, because of what you pointed out, clearly he'd be better off playing this year in Dallas. All right. The Giants have to offer him contracts for not just 2023. I think they might even have to dangle 2024.
Odell was on a podcast or something and said he wants to play, wants a home, doesn't want to go from place to place. I don't believe him. I simply don't believe him. I think he wants to be in the sexiest place that he can be at that time. And that place is Dallas.
No question about it. And that's why the Giants have to offer him far more. But with as bad as their wide receiving core is, Mark, I mean, honestly, they don't have a receiver. I don't know if they have a receiver who would play for many other teams. That's how bad their wide receiving core is. I don't see how offering a competent wide receiver, which clearly he is, a multi-year contract is a bad thing. You're going to need wide receivers next year and probably even in 24.
Agree. It's just this shiny toy's making the decision. And is it a half a year deal, or is it a year and a half, 2.5 year deal? And we'll find out when OBJ decides to sign. Miller and Moulton, thanks for listening. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Today was a day when. What's on tap? It's all next on the Florida Sports Network.
Don't miss the Miami Dolphins watch party every Sunday at the Seaside Bar and Grill in Bonita Springs. Presented by Clutch Vodka. The Seaside will be serving Clutch Vodka drinks, including the awesome Bloody Mary bar at the Seaside. If you can't be at Hard Rock Stadium, come have fun at the best place in town to watch the Dolphins and enjoy the best, clean, crisp, smoothest vodka. That's Clutch with a K. Miami Dolphins parties every week at the Seaside Bar and Grill on Old 41 in Bonita Springs. Powered by Clutch Vodka.
Mark Miller for SWFL Golf Carts, or online, flgolfcarts.com. If you're looking for a golf cart, an e-bike, or an e-motorcycle, go visit Alex and the gang at SWFL Golf Carts. flgolfcarts.com online. Check out their whole inventory. If you're looking for a custom cart, they can take care of you. 2-seater, 4-seater, 6-seater, they've got you covered. E-bikes, nobody better for value and service. E-motorcycles, check them out. Again, flgolfcarts.com. flgolfcarts.com.
Yeah. Hi. Excuse me.
Hey, the line starts back here. Ma'am, if your party's not here, you're gonna have to go around again.
If you had the opportunity to avoid all this, wouldn't you?
Salt Live is the official transportation provider of the Miller and Moulton Morning Show, making your trip to and from the airport seamless and stress-free. Salt Live is supported with the help of local partners like the Bayfront Inn. Gather your family and friends and enjoy a leisurely day on the water with a pontoon or deck boat. If you prefer to explore the waterways without a motor, the Bayfront has canoes, standboards, and kayaks. At the end of your journey, enjoy lunch or dinner at the Bamboo Tropical Bar and Grill. The Bayfront Inn, something for everyone on 5th Avenue in downtown Naples. BayfrontInNaples.com. When you need a ride, book with Salt Live Transportation, 308-8686, or book on saltlivetransportation.com.
You were listening to Miller and Moulton on the Florida Sports Network.
Did you see this Vermont cop story?
I did not.
An off-duty Vermont cop.
Oh, that got shot by the cop
10 times while across the border in Saratoga Springs. You would think a cop would not shoot at other cops. Huh. I can't believe this has worked this well.
I am right there with you. After last night talking, it's a couple times it's glitched. And what's funny, I don't know if you notice it. What happens, it delays you, and then you talk really, really, really fast.
No, see, that I don't hear. And I don't hear it from you either. Like whenever it's glitched, and if you were the one talking, when it glitches, it kind of for a split second freezes, but I don't hear anything before and after it that's out of the norm.
Hey, Iran scored 4-1.
And I ran so far away. I couldn't get away.
Ooh, nice goal.
No way, Logic Man. No way. I had a fro. I had a natural fro when the flock of seagulls were in their prime. Yeah, Mello, it's unfortunate that they're playing these terrific college basketball matchups while major college and pro football is going on. Because you're right, Gonzaga and Kentucky played last night. I mean, I think you can challenge Thursday Night Football on Amazon. If I was running a sport or a league going forward, I'm okay challenging Thursday Night Football. By the way, Mark, have you seen how much the Wolverines are struggling in hoops? They were lucky to win last night in overtime.
Kentucky shouldn't be ranked.
30 seconds. Here we go.
You're listening to Miller and Moulton, exclusively on the Florida Sports Network.
Home stretch of Miller and Moulton on this Monday. Final segment from Mexico City for me. Back in the States tomorrow. Mark in the 239 once again. Monday Night Football. No Kyler Murray is the word. So the Niners now a 10-point favorite against Arizona. Here in the altitude of nearly 7,400 feet in Mexico City.
So when San Francisco wins tonight, they move into a tie with Seattle for first in the West.
Right.
You think Seattle's going to be a playoff team?
I do. And I think they're going to be the 7 seed at the expense of the Giants. I'm going to say it again. The Giants are missing the playoffs. Washington and Seattle will be the 2 wildcard teams that wrap up the NFC, with the loser in the East between Philly and Dallas being the 5 seed. The Giants' loss in Seattle is going to come back and bite them. They'll lose the tiebreaker to the Seahawks head-to-head.
Seattle has the Raiders, the Rams, Carolina, the Niners, the Chiefs, the Jets, and another one with the Rams.
Think about that. What looked daunting 2 months ago. Oh, my goodness. And now you're like, wow, we get to finish with the Rams twice.
And hosting the Jets late in the season. I don't think that's going to be nearly as difficult as Jets fans will think it will be. But just,
yep.
I'm curious, David, who are those last seeds? And as crazy as it sounds, with what's going on with Seattle and the Giants where they are, if Atlanta can get their act together, Atlanta and Tampa could both challenge.
Well, big game in a week is Atlanta at Washington. Atlanta loses, they're 5-7. In all likelihood, their only hope to make the playoffs is to somehow then climb ahead of Tampa Bay and win the South. And the Bucs are still just 5-5 until proven otherwise. But if they win, Mark, now they're in play in which they can play the wild card, and they can look Tampa in the eyes and go, that final game of the regular season where we meet at our place could be for the division.
It very well could be. And look, if they get the Commanders, they host the Steelers. They go to the Saints, where it'll be a close pick'em type game. They go to the Ravens, where they'll be a decided underdog. They finish home for the Cardinals, home for the Bucs. I guess what I'm saying here is that if they get the Commanders, they'll be favored, I think, in every game but one the rest of the way until they get to Tampa at the end of the season.
Right. And so that's why winning the games that you're supposed to win, and then all of a sudden, and meanwhile the Giants, you look at the Giants schedule and tell me the next time they'll be favored. Because I think it's the second to last game of the year. I don't think they'll be favored again in 2022.
I think they could be favored at home against the Commanders, but it won't be by much. It's going to be a pick 'em 1-2. I'm with you.
Giants get pounded Thursday in Dallas, and if Washington beats Atlanta, Mark, that could be like the Dallas-Minnesota line where Dallas was a 1.5 favorite. I mean, it would not shock me if the Commanders, even though the Giants would be ahead of them in the standings by a game in the loss column, would not shock me if the Commanders were a 2-point favorite.
Will the Giants benefit from playing the Eagles the last game of the season and the Eagles have nothing to play for?
Well, I will say that would be rich considering the Eagles laid down 2 seasons ago, the final game of the regular season, to make sure that the Giants didn't win the division and Washington did. So it would be ironic if 2 years later they look across the field and say, hey, we're going to lay down for you this time, but only this time it's going to benefit you.
It's time for someone to take back this segment, if for no other reason than to stop David from talking about Meghan and Harry. Here's Mark Miller with Today Was the Day When.
1789, North Carolina becomes our 12th state. Still lost to Georgia Tech, but they become our 12th state. 1902, baseball's Philadelphia Athletics and Phillies form pro football teams, joining the Pittsburgh Stars in the first attempt at a National Football League. Today in 1925, Red Grange plays his final University of Illinois game. There was a pick play at the end of it. Oh, I'm sorry. That was the Saturday Illinois game. He would then sign with the Chicago Bears.
Nice. See what you did there.
Today in 34, the Yankees buy Joe D's contract from the San Francisco Seals of the Pacific Coast League. Buying players for almost 100 years, David.
Yep. And it's worked out a lot.
Really well. Today in 56, Don Newcomb wins the National League MVP in the first ever Cy Young Award. Back then, they only gave one.
Correct. Until I believe the divisional series was created in 69. I think we expanded the playoffs and then also assigned the Cy Young to each league at the same time.
Today in 1976, Rocky premieres. Still plays. Today in 1980, the Dallas episode, The Whodunit, which revealed who shot JR, gets a 53.3 rating. That's over 83 million viewers, and 3 of 4 television watchers in the United States watch Dallas, not the Cowboys.
Correct.
The soap opera.
Right.
I mean, just to think of 3 or 4 televisions all being on the same damn thing right now seems impossible.
I mean, the Super Bowl struggles to get that.
Right.
I mean, they get more viewers, but they struggle to get the share. Do you remember, and I don't know, maybe if it was like the early days of Entertainment Tonight or whatever, but they were promoting Who Shot JR. And so they filmed, by the way, they wanted to keep it a secret even amongst the cast. They apparently had every single cast member shoot JR so that even the cast did not know the storyline that they were going to go with. But they showed then all of the cast members shooting JR. And then they showed one final somebody with a gun. And it was JR firing it and then looking at the camera going, what the heck is going on here?
Yep. I remember it 42 years ago. 41 years ago, Olivia Newton-John's Physical was the #1 song in the land that would stay there for 10 weeks to just tell you how bad music was in the early 80s.
And how smoking she was because we just wanted to watch the video.
No lie there. 89, HW passed a law that would ban smoking on most domestic flights.
Apparently Spirit Airlines was like, nope, we're good.
And in 2013, the song Happy was released. I like that song, so I thought I would bring it up. Those born today that are no longer with us, the great hockey announcer Foster Hewitt was born today in 1902, and Stan Musial also born today. Those celebrating birthdays. Earl Monroe is 78.
Oh, the The Pearl.
The Pearl is 78. Goldie Hawn is 77. Cedric Maxwell, 67. Olden Polynice is 58. Your buddy Troy's 56.
Mm-hmm.
Junior's 53. Michael Strahan's 51. And Danny Cannell's 49. And that, David, is today was a day win. What did I miss?
Just to let you behind the scenes, Troy and I do a thing because for 1 month we're the same age. You know, I'm 56 for another month until I turn 57. So on his birthday or the first day that I see him, in which we're the same age, we take a picture together like Schwarzenegger and DeVito. Okay, we take our twins picture together, and usually I send it out and go, "We're the same age. Look." All right. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
so we'll do that later today from Azteca in the booth. Edison announced he invented the phonograph today, 145 years ago. And just because it was on television for days on end, the whole Iran-Contra scandal, okay, kind of really began in earnest today. Apparently, Mark, there were shredded documents. Can you believe
riveting
that?
television. Riveting television.
Listen, the hearings have to be good if you're taking, especially back in the day, to not air the soaps for congressional committee stuff. This better be a big deal.
And it was juicy. It was every bit as juicy as the soaps, David. And it had to be to keep up with them.
And that's how Oliver North became a star. Okay. People didn't care whether or not he was guilty of anything. They were like, look at him. He's handsome and he's confident. And he's an American. Whatever he says I'm for.
He just did it because he was ordered to do it. Damn it. It's supposed to happen.
I don't care if he acted on his own. And besides, anybody think he acted on his own? No, but I don't care. Glad he did it. Why? Because he looks like how an American soldier is supposed to look. Not that we're susceptible to that kind of thing.
You've heard folks elsewhere mock Florida is gonna Florida. Well, Mark Miller sees it differently. He calls it the good, the bad, and the ugly. What you got, Mark?
I have a new hero. Chen Bangzhen. That's as close as I'm going to come to it. He's nicknamed Uncle Chen. He finished a marathon over the weekend. He's 50 years old. It's the second time he's done a marathon. He did it in under 3.5 hours. But the kicker is he chain smokes while he does the marathon. There are viral tweets out of the marathon runner firing heater after heater down while running a marathon in 3.5 hours. Look, smoking's bad for you. I get it, all that stuff. I quit a long time ago. But the fact that this guy can smoke heaters and beat 1,000 people in a marathon race, that's my good today. For the bad, we go to Washington, where things did not go well for Christy Matheson. She was walking alone in the woods by her home when she was attacked. Fast, silent, but leaving his mark. She said it felt like getting punched in the back of the head by someone wearing rings. She was attacked by a white owl. You can say what you want about your snakes in your yard. I'll take snakes. I'll take gators. You know what I don't want? An attacking owl. Cut her up. They're territorial. And now her bloodied scalp is reasons to stay away from the attacking owls. I'll take the snakes, David. You can have the owls.
Okay.
Finally, the ugly, we go to Evansville, Indiana, where a guy won a bunch of money in the casino. Then he contacted a woman online to meet him. And you'll never guess what happened next. She arrived with someone else and they robbed the victim at gunpoint. He was shot in the arm. Fortunately for the man, they both left the room and didn't take the money. So he's got an injury, but he's still got his cash. And that, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, November the 21st, 2022. Hey, I won a lot of money. I've never met you before. Why don't you come meet me in a hotel room?
4 hours from now, 4 hours and 8 minutes from now to be exact, U.S. men's national team. Okay. Taking on Wales. Not the big ones in the ocean either. It's the money match in the group. Need a win. They win this, they're going to advance out of group. They get a tie, a draw. Now we're going to get down maybe to goal differential, and this could be problematic.
Absolutely.
So it's a big one. 2:00 Eastern today.
I think they get it done. I think the young team won't realize the pressure, and they'll play above themselves in this game.
I am curious who's going to be the standout goalie. Okay, for the U.S. I know they brought 3 of them. I'm curious who's, because usually when we have any kind of success, the goalie's been our best player in the past, Mark, because we haven't really had the skilled team. Their goalie's been our best player. Hockey tonight. The Lightning host the Bruins.
Ooh.
Boston 16-2 and an underdog from a betting standpoint in the game. It's as close to a pick'em as you can have, but Boston's an ever so slight dog. 16-2 Bruins. Tampa Bay has found their game. They're 11-6-1. Thank you very much. NBA, both Florida teams in action. Orlando at Indiana. Heat or at Minnesota? I think I lay the 8 with the Timberwolves. Heat are shorthanded, banged up.
They really are. And I couldn't bet on Orlando if you made me.
And then you got Monday Night Football tonight. Niners now a 10-point favorite. They're expecting no Kyler Murray. Under got moved down to 42.5. So what is it that we're talking here? A 26-16 game? So
sounds about right for this year's NFL.
I'll take the points.
It's been the play all year long, and anything that's over 8, taking the points has been the play all year long. A sneaky good college basketball game. Texas Tech's at Creighton at 2:30. A lot of those tournaments going on. That's in Nebraska, but a 2:30 game on the Deuce. Pretty good game between 2 ranked teams today.
Speaking of which, you got the Gulf Shore Showcase with FGCU playing in it, and the Fort Myers tip-off gets underway today as well. Thanks for listening. Miller and Moulton.
David Moulton for Napa Auto Parts, and Napa Filters. Insist on Napa Filters